what's going on behind the scenes to cause this to happen, and I can fix it right now by myself. And I mean, at some point in the future, whenever they start paying you the big fucking bucks, and you're making a good amount of money, you're gonna run into esoteric issues that you're not gonna find on fucking Stack Overflow,
right?
And you're gonna have some idea of what the fuck is going on,
you
know. But I mean, yeah, for I would say for like 90% of applications that people want to make, it's called scaffolding, which is like if you want to make a project, someone has already essentially made a program to create a program for you, which is called scaffolding. And then all you have to do is basically change that program to do what you want it to do. Like I guarantee you, for people who want to make like a farming simulator, there is a scaffolding program to basically give you a template for creating a like 2D farming Harvest Moon type video game.
I think about
go from there.
How like one day I feel like there will be like a video game maker video game, which there already kind of are things like that, but they're not super gamified and they're not I don't know. There's not crazy amounts of options in the like. What's that one game where like you pick two genres and like mix them together and then it gives you a game? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
Two genres and you mix them together.
I don't think I know what that is.
I think it's like an indie game, and its whole shtick is that it has like a handful of genres, and then you pick two, and then it gives you like a small little game that's both genres mixed together. But there's only like a total of like 12 little games in it with the handful of genres together, or something like that. But it'd be cool to have like a game that is almost like a gamified version of like an RPG maker type thing, where like they really gamify you making a game and then it's doing a lot of work in like the back end, whereas like you on the front end as the player are like just making simple choices, and then it on the back end is like doing a bunch of work, like
like almost like AI generating the game for you.
Like some crazy shit like that. Absolutely. Yes.
I feel like automating or scaffolding, I guess more specifically in this case, the stuff that's challenging is like what like RPG Maker and stuff like that was for, right? Which is like, you could take like, you'd be surprised how many games that sold a shitload were, from creators who got their start making games on RPG Maker or like very simple tool sets. Even something as like simple and straightforward, like, we laugh about. What's that?
Have y'all seen have y'all looked into Dreams from Sony?
Yeah, of course. That was insane. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like that type of thing, except make the like front end for the player like way simpler, and then the back end like way more infinite and doing a lot more work. And it just generate things based off of the simple decisions. And it's like, we're like, probably a generation or two away from like a good version of what I'm thinking about, but it would be so cool. And I think a lot of interesting stuff could come from that too.
The example that I was thinking of was Mario Maker, like the insane level of creativity that came out of that, and the types of like that is going to inspire people who are young and like building levels or playing levels in that to make games, right?
It's such a good idea. I like huge shout out to Nintendo for ever doing that. Such a cool concept. Mario Maker is like S tier. All the different like visual styles you can choose from, and just like the amount of different content that's come from it.
I never played the second one. I never did.
It's pretty cool. I ended up getting it because at the time, I think they've made one since, but at the time there hadn't been an original 2D Mario made by Nintendo in like fucking like 10 years. And people don't count the second Mario Maker, but because the focus is Mario Maker, but there is hundreds of Nintendo made
levels
for you to play. Like it is a 2D Mario game, and you get to explore through all this cool ass shit they made in all these different styles and all this wacky shit where it's not like all stuck to one theme that is like the gimmick of the game, like Super Mario Wonder. It like has a gimmick, and the gimmick is that a bunch of crazy shit happens. But either way, that is the gimmick. It's like find the fruit and then something crazy will happen, right? And in Mario Maker 2, there is no set gimmick. It's just them going all out and doing crazy ass level design. And it's like one of the most fun platformers I've played that's like a 2D platformer. It's so well made and creative. It's like, yeah, incredible. And then the whole, custom stuff is like the whole other side of that.
Yeah, I wish I liked Mario as much as I did as a kid, and you know what I mean? Like, there's just something about the game now that I can't sit there for hours on end and do that anymore.
Yeah.
There's just something about it that I start to lose focus and attention after a while. I think, and that's to say, I'll be the first to admit, it says more about me than it does about the game. I think like somewhere in my brain something has changed. Where as an adult, like a switch flipped, and it was just like I can't enjoy Pokemon like I used to anymore. Like I can't enjoy a certain type of game that I view as just very I don't know, direct in its approach. Like I need a little bit more to pull me along than just, wow, it's really fun to jump over these turtles. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is, but,
I always think about like an elevated level of satisfaction because I feel like I could still play hack and slash games, but it just needs to be more satisfying to hit the fuck out of things than whatever I've experienced prior. Like I was actually thinking that during whenever I was playing Black Myth Wukong, because it's a great game overall. But I'm not even joking. Whenever I think about it, I'm like, bro, if this guy had a sword, this game would be a wrap. Instead of a fucking staff, the whacking people and shit. Just because it's like the difference in my mind whenever I'm thinking about like hacking and slashing, the noises that makes, the feedback that you get as a player, rather than like with a staff where, I don't know, like you just don't get that same level of satisfaction as
maybe you get a sword at some point.
You get a spear that has a fucking thing on it.
I did get that.
A blade on it.
I did.
But that's as far as I got.
But they've left like a lot of space under the weapon. Like if you go on the weapon screen, like craft weapons, and then you have the spear, and then it gives you the little chart that goes down. There's like a bunch of slots under that spear, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's only one that I haven't seen.
Oh really?
On like the far left, yeah. And the other one. I mean, there is one that there is one that has a blade on it, and it's nice, but it doesn't give crit chance. So I was like, I can't do this. There's no way.
Well,
it's just not gonna work.
Great.
This is a good segue. We're back. There were a lot of games. I wasn't quite prepared for just how. I think it was because Deadlock was a bit of a surprise, maybe, but it feels like we're spoiled right now for choice in terms of what to play. I tried to spend my time wisely and then failed because in the couple of hours at the end of a workday that I wanted to use to play video games, we all played Deadlock instead of me getting further in Black Myth Wukong. But yeah. I think since we're talking about it, we may as well go ahead and talk about Black Myth Wukong.
Could I start?
Do they? Yes, please. Hold on. Before you do,
yes.
Do they, Merced? Could you? Is it like one of these? So what you were talking about, I was as we were talking, I was thinking about like a spear with the sword on the end of it, and I remembered that Guan Yu from Dynasty Warriors had like a big long spear, and then it has like a sword blade, like a curved sword blade, almost like a falchion on one end. Do you know what I'm talking? I'm gonna post it.
Those are just called halberds.
No, halberd has an axe on the end. But do you see this gigantic statue in China? Did they put? Is there one of those in Black Myth? Because I want that. Very impressive statue, also.
Oh, that fuck. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, I don't think so.
Damn it. It's pretty fucking cool.
Unless it is randomly the last one that I have not seen. Then
Okay. All right. Okay.
No, that one doesn't exist.
God damn it. Okay.
Yeah, they really honestly had a chance to have like a pretty diverse range of weapons. Like I get it, it's like you're the Monkey King, he has the staff, so like most of them should probably be the blunt staff. But bro, I'm telling you, man, it just feels so much better when you can slash something.
Yeah. I can't remember I'm remembering all of these characters from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. All because of the first 10 years of my life. I was so insanely obsessed with Dynasty Warriors. But there was a guy named Zhao Yun who was my favorite guy, and he had like a spear as well. That was probably more like the spear that you get as the first new weapon in Black Myth. They should make good Dynasty Warriors games, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping the new one will be good. We'll see.
It's been a while though since they've made a good one. Okay, Crossley, you wanted to go first. Tell me.
I think the Berserk one's pretty good. I think all the crossover ones aren't bad actually.
The Berserk one? Oh, yeah. But yeah. I mean that game was fine, but I'm not talking about like the licensed ones. I'm talking like actual Dynasty Warriors, like the Yellow Turban Rebellion Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah. I guess I just mean like I have faith they could do a good one since the other ones are good.
That's true. I have no idea what the team structure is like over there, so maybe they have a team that only works on licensed games, and because like Persona Strikers was pretty cool, and had a lot of good ideas, but
so you'll see this guy behind me.
Yeah, the you're talking about the chapter
Wind Sage.
Yeah, the Yellow Wind Sage, right.
This guy,
I
fucking hate, is the worst part of the game. They should just straight up remove it. Otherwise, Black Myth Wukong, great fucking game. I love this game. I want to play more of it. Deadlock. Did
you get into chapter 3 yet?
Yeah, I'm in chapter 3.
Okay. I would say the worst boss in the game is in chapter 3, I think, so far.
Well, I'll get there, you know?
We'll get there. I didn't hate this guy.
Right now I'm at hating this guy. I'll hate chapter 3 later.
Which boss in chapter 3?
The captain. Well, there's like 5 captains, but the one when you get to the top of the pagoda. I think so there's like 4 captains. And then you got to get all their souls and bring them back to the guy, right? And then he gives you his spear, and that's how you get the spear weapon. Only the mandatory one is the bad one. When you get to the top of the pagoda realm, and he's up there, and he shoots all the laser beams everywhere. I only lost to him one time, but when I tell you that both attempts took like a combined time of like 35 minutes, I mean that boss is just so fucking slow. Everything about that boss is so slow. He enters in vulnerability states constantly. He has like a bunch of bullet hell moves that you have to dodge. It's not great.
It's so weird. I think I enjoyed that one, but I think I died maybe twice to him, and then I was like, oh, okay, well that was it.
I was just like, nice. I was like running around. I was like, this just isn't fun. Like I don't know, like.
The actual pagoda area is fucking horrible.
It's terrible.
It's like really, really bad. Like I like Crossy. When you get there, you're gonna be like, this is why the fuck did they do this?
The whole time I was like, whoever designed this is insane. I mean,
it's a cool idea.
Yeah,
I think it's a cool idea. The execution could have been better. It just could have been done better.
Yeah, I remember I was messaging you and I was like, whoever designed this is like a fucking criminal, and you were laughing and saying like get good or some other generic bullshit. And but what was funny was like at the time I said, oh, the light of the pagoda like turning, like the big pagoda in the middle like turns, and then there's a big spotlight on it, and I was like, it just so happened in my head that I connected the two because the spotlight was shining on me the first time that the jailers came out. And I was like, oh, if you get in the spotlight, the jailers come out and beat your ass. That's not true, actually. That's wrong. I just thought that because of that coincidence. It's actually just a 3-minute timer. And every 3 minutes.
Oh, is it actually?
It seriously is.
That's so fucking bad, dude. Because I didn't know what it was either, so I just ignored it. Because I couldn't make a connection with anything. So that actually makes sense. So I just ignored even trying to avoid it.
So I basically played through the area like normal. You know what I mean? Like I went through and explored every nook and cranny because that's how I play games like this. And then I got to the top and beat the boss and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, now that I feel like then the next area takes you out of there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look up what people are saying about this because it seems really strange. Like I try not to look up things in advance because I don't want it to like affect how I feel about something. You know what I mean? Or like my expectations. So like usually I'll play something. If I'm like, that was kind of weird, I'll look it up. So I went on the Reddit, I started reading, and everybody hates that area. But what's funny to me is the comments, because the comments in a Reddit post that's like, what the fuck's up with the pagoda realm? And then, somebody will comment and be like, the mechanic of cutting your health into a third of itself every 3 minutes is meant to force you to sprint as fast as you can through the area and get to the boss, obviously. And I'm like, what do you mean, obviously? Like, in the sense that, like, it sucks and you want to get through it faster? Then, yeah, I guess. But, like, it's not like I automatically assumed that would go away if I beat the boss. You know what I mean? Like, just really weird thought process there.
Also, you have no, like, when you're doing that section, you have no frame of reference for how, well, I mean, you do have a frame of reference, but of the distance between each checkpoint that you get.
Yeah.
The distance and the checkpoints in the pagoda are much longer.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't have, like, that's your frame of reference, and you don't have an understanding that you're not going to see the next one while you're getting absolutely ass-blasting gangbanged on the, going in on a merry-go-round through the pagoda. Like, you have no clue. It's going to take you like a while, and you might as well just go ahead and fucking sprint, because it's true. You might as well just go ahead and fucking sprint. Just sprint, go find where the next checkpoint is. That way you have a good idea of like how far you can get between each area. And yeah, it was just so, it wasn't good. It was not good.
It's not good. And the thing that's even funnier about it is like so I'm working my way through the area, and I don't like this game. I don't really die on the normal enemies. Many bosses, maybe, bosses certainly, but like the enemies are kind of just there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fun to fight, but generally they're just there, like obstacles. And it's like if every enemy in a Souls game was a hollow, And so I'm working my way through, and there's a section where there's like a beam you have to cross, and there's an archer on the other side, right? And no problem, it's just like Dark Souls. It's like Saints Fortress, brings back old memories, right? You're like, okay, I know what to do. Get past that, keep going, and there's basically, I think your third checkpoint is like pretty far after that. You get there, did the third checkpoint. Immediately after the third checkpoint, there's like a little stretch where you're running, you have a fight with a guy, and then there's like a much longer beam that has like 3 archers on it. And I'm like, okay, a little tougher, but I mean, not a big deal. About midway through that beam is one of those little fucking devil guys hiding up top. And the devil guys, their like initiation attack is to slam the ground, which usually knocks you in a direction. And obviously, you're not going to know he's there unless you're really paying attention beforehand, which you're probably not, because you're like, I'm just going to sprint this, right? So I'm like sprinting across the beam, and he knocks me off the first time, and I was like, haha, okay, good one, guys, and whatever. And then it respawns me the thing. I'm running, and then I'm like trying my damnedest to dodge him, but for some reason the roll has such distance on it that I'm just rolling myself off the side every single time. Like I'm like rolling and then getting hit with an arrow and falling off, or like the devil guy will do his charge and then he just does it again immediately, and he'll knock me off. I'm not even kidding you. I think I died in that like section, that little platform, probably like 30 times, which is more than any boss has killed me. And what's really funny is most of the bosses combine, honestly. And what's really funny is I was like, finally, I mean, I guess I was being stubborn because I was just trying to do the same thing. Finally, I was just like, okay, I'm going to use the invisibility thing and just use the invisibility to like run across without them ever even knowing I was there. And that was the solution, I guess. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if you got, if well, I guess Crossley, you're not there yet, but I don't know if Merced, you did it the same way. But like, it was so funny because like trying to fight the archers, trying to fight literally any of them on that balance beam was like certain death.
It's impossible.
It was certain death.
You're not meant to.
To me, the only thing you can do is the invisibility thing. Like that was what I got from that experience was like, okay, I guess they designed certain things with exactly one thing in mind because I don't know. I didn't seem to find another way. I mean, maybe you could use the rock hard like deflection thing to like deflect the devil guy like coming down, but I don't know. There's just some
died probably like 5 to 10 times there, but that was.
Did you use the invisibility or no?
No. Well, no, I don't think I did. I don't remember exactly. What I remember doing is literally just going like just straight forward, keeping in mind the dude up above, and then dodging at the right times because like you have to dodge for the dude that's dodging down, and you have to dodge for the dudes with the arrows. So like I literally just memorized the timings for then, and I only hit the dodge button whenever those were happening, and then I made it through.
So funny. So like the roll is so long too. I kept like dodging off the side. It was just very strange.
Yeah, I dodged off the side too.
That was like the first, probably the only moment so far where I was like, I mean, that whole level is bad, but that was like the thing that made me go, okay, this seems like this was a little undercooked. Like they hadn't thought this one through. I mean, at least it's right after a checkpoint, so maybe they knew on some level. They're like,
it's literally right next to a checkpoint.
This is a little bit bullshit, but you know, and I mean, part of it is like as players of these games and like Dark Souls games and things where, you know, you die and have to retry a section at a certain point, you get impatient or stubborn and you're just like, I'm not doing this literally any other way. And then you're just like fucking ramming your head into the wall for no reason. But yeah, so that's been the hardest boss for me so far. What about you guys?
There's it gets worse.
Yeah, I know.
All depending. Yeah, the guy that Crossley had problem with is definitely the second worst one that I have actually encountered yet.
And you know the funny thing, Chandler, I was talking to Merced about this. My issue ended up being less about the boss and more about that I wasn't noticing or I was noticing it, but I wasn't noticing how bad it was impacting my dodges. There was a huge frame drop in the towards the end of the fight, and I was like literally frame fucking perfect the whole fight until a certain point, and then I was getting hit by everything, even moves I was dodging perfectly up until that point, and I'm like, literally, what the fuck is going on? And it was like breaking my brain. And then I realized the next day when I woke up and tried, I was like, wait, the frames are ass for the next part, so I bet if I just literally dodge even earlier, it'll be fine. And it was, and I killed it first try after I realized that. So boss, honestly, not that bad, but the fucking way it affected my frames on console was pretty brutal, actually. It's kind of sad. So
that brings up a couple things. First of all, I mean, Black Myth Wukong, in general, it's PC and PS5 right now. There's a lot of scuttlebutt online about if there is a PS5 exclusivity or limited time exclusivity deal. There doesn't seem to be a clear answer on that. There's some journalist who's arguing that he's seen reporting that indicates Sony paid for some temporary exclusivity, but there's nothing to confirm that. And in fact, people are saying, even the developers are saying the only reason the Xbox version was delayed is that they're having difficulties with optimization.
Yeah.
I have heard that as the game goes on, optimization on both platforms really only gets worse, and I'm experiencing that.
What I imagine.
I'm experiencing that as well on PC now. Merced, Crossley's not going to know where this is, but in chapter 3, I think I'm near the end, which I've said 3 times now because it's clearly the longest chapter. I'm in the large temple that's like huge, that's got like 4 different wings, and they all kind of converge back in the middle. There's a shit ton of like lightning guys. There's all those blind monks everywhere, which are my new least favorite enemy.
It's the last spot.
But and I have ray tracing on. I think I have it set to medium, which according to Digital Foundry is ill-advised, but I'm doing it anyway. And I get about 110 frames on average. There will just be random moments where someone will use like a huge ability that's like fire or ice or something, and all of a sudden I'll just get a huge like spike in latency and like a dip where it'll just be like frozen for like a split second, and it happens every so often. And every time that happens, I will get totally clobbered by something. So I should probably turn ray tracing off because I didn't have that problem before. But I don't know. I like the way it looks.
I just keep ray tracing off all the time. I truly personally do not notice a difference.
It's fake.
So I'm literally just like
fake tracing.
Fuck it. And then when I turn it on, it's like it's basically, to me, it's just a frame goblin. It just all it does is it's a little dude who like is like huddling behind the screen, and he just starts like stealing the frames, and you can turn them on or off. It's really up to you.
Yeah, it's this is the less frames button. Would you like less frames?
Yeah, that's how because I just don't. I truly just don't notice it.
Turns it on. Crisis 1 mode just makes it run.
Yeah,
I mean it's amazing whenever you're seeing like screen grabs and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, it's always amazing whenever you're actually like looking at like the real time utilization is really not comparable to like whenever you're looking at screen grabs and you're just like, that's fucking amazing. But
yeah, I mean, realistically, it is a better lighting effect happening and all that stuff that it's doing, but the like side by side, the best like frame reference that I've personally played is Cyberpunk, and it's like the side by side in that game, it just looks so good without it. I could care less. It's like, oh, okay, yes, this fucking puddle looks phenomenal with the ray tracing on, but I don't give a fuck because I'm looking at everything else that's also not the lighting. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just all looks so good, and then it just looks so much better if it's running way better.
I think
it does.
The thing that usually gets me with ray tracing is, and this is really dumb. It's 2 things really. One, it's bounce lighting. So like in the snow,
other objects will gain the colors and stuff.
Correct.
Is that what that is? Yeah.
So like when you're in the desert section, it gives like a nice orange glow to things kind of above the sand because you get that bounce from the sand effect. The same thing happens in the snow in chapter 3. But this is the thing that always breaks immersion for me immersion, whatever. This is the thing that usually bugs me in a game that I notice pretty consistently. The way that video game traditional baked lighting systems handle caves is like really odd, because you'll get like, it's almost like a little bit too bright because they've baked in some lighting leak from the mouth of the cave. It's a little bit too bright, and it never feels evenly lit in the correct way. You know what I mean? Or I guess more accurately, it feels too even. Like it's like a very consistent light level.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about.
When you have ray tracing on, there's just a very clear shadow, right? Where it's like the amount of light leak a cave would get is being simulated here by, you know, the rays.
And caves are dark, so it's dark. Like so you're just seeing like, yeah, totally. I know exactly what you mean.
Because instead of darkness, you get like almost like grayish darkness, right? And in a traditional rasterized lighting, whereas like in ray tracing, you're getting more accurate.
The dark.
Yeah.
And
I kind of
it's one of the cool things about it is that it is a more realistic lighting happening, like or you know, more or less. But that's the issue is that like the game is designed to have a very unrealistic light sim happening where that cave will be fully illuminated for you in a way that doesn't actually make sense. And then once actual cave light sim is happening and it's fucking dark as shit and you have a video game light on the ceiling, it's like, well, this is weird. But you know.
But all this is just to say that I think it's a really
it makes Minecraft so good.
It's a beautiful looking game. With or without ray tracing, the art design is amazing. Technically, overall, like it's a little uneven. Like every once in a while, like in general, you're looking at a scene, and you're like, this is insane. And every once in a while, you'll look at textures, and you're like, these are the highest resolution textures I've ever seen. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, periodically you'll stumble on a texture and you're like, this looks like ass. That's even more amazing. You know what I mean?
Like they're just stumbled in here. What the fuck?
Yeah, they're like hiding it very well, right? Like it's it's just a really nice looking game. It's just, I mean, I think there's no arguing at this point that games in general are just not getting optimization passes that they need. I mean, it just feels like every game that's coming out has some kind of issue with frame pacing, or stuttering, or, you know, intense frame drops, or, you know,
I mean, they keep like getting away with it, which I put like getting away with it in quotes, because I mean, it's like the fact is that the vast majority of gamers don't really care if they get stutters or frame drops, or probably honestly don't even really equate those two things with poor production or poor development or anything like that. So they're just kind of like, oh, yep, this is the shit that happens. That happens sometimes whenever you're playing games.
Well, it's funny. You kind of have to like set a line between basically like the types of people who there is a large substantial portion of the population out there who plays video games but doesn't really pay attention to the news of video games or like technical stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you've got that group. Then you've got the middle group, which is #gamers that spend a lot of time online, spend a lot of time in the news, spend a lot of time arguing online about things that they have absolutely no idea about. And they're the ones who get in there and go, you know, Bloodborne has a shit frame rate, you know, or something like that, or like, you know, all this stuff, right? Like they get up in arms about a particular topic, and then they drag it, you know, to the grave, even if they don't know everything about that particular topic. I feel like that group of people is always mad about this, but they never, you know, they can't articulate themselves in a way that is beneficial to anyone, right? They just lose their shit. And they're the people who watch Digital Foundry but don't absorb any of the information.
They just look at the frames.
Right, yeah. And then
I mean, basically, yeah.
And then I feel like they use it for console war shit, right? Like that's the main thing is, you know, they're like, it'll be like Xbox fanboys being like, haha, Wukong runs like shit on the PS5. Idiots. That game sucks anyway, you know, and it's just like, all right, man.
True, though.
Yeah, whatever. And then, you know, and then the same thing happens like on, you know, Sony fanboys doing the same shit to people who play on Xbox and all this stuff. So, and then there's the third group, which I think that, you know, we kind of mostly fall into, which is we understand that making games is hard, and fixing this stuff is not simple, right? And it's not as simple as choosing the right platform or choosing the right development tools, right? Like just, you know, Unreal Engine is known for having some stuttering problems, but devs can optimize around that, right? There are ways, there are solutions. But you're right, we've allowed them to get away with it in general, right? Like whether or not there's a group vocal online about how poor performance in a game is, like remember Dragon's Dogma 2, everybody was talking about it for weeks.
That too. There's like a popularity, almost like some games just get the shit more than other games do.
Yeah.
Like I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Dragon's Dogma 2 did not run very well, but yeah, some games it's like weirdly popular to like hate on the performance issues, and on other games like I mean, shit, dude, like Bethesda specifically up until I guess Starfield, right? It was popular to be like, oh, the jank is part of the charm, haha. And it's like I've never been on that fence. I've always fucking hated that shit, but like. It's true. Depending on the company, you might have a large swath of people who play these games just be like they'll give you the pass.
And to be honest, outside
which is interesting.
Outside of certain moments in games, like Bethesda's a good example because I do think the jank is part of the charm. He is fine in a game where you can save and load whenever the fuck you want. You do not lose any progress if your game crashes. If you die.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, I'm not counting progression blocking bugs, which Bethesda games have had, by the way. I mean, that is for sure. Yeah. But I'm just saying, in terms of performance or optimization, if a Bethesda game is stuttery, the stakes are low. Let's be honest. I mean, it's not like you're that concerned about a twitchy firefight in Starfield. You know what I mean? Like you'll be fine. In a game like Wukong, where your performance is directly tied to like Crossley's story about the Yellow Wind Sage. Like it's like, if you're performing more poorly because latency is up, because the frame rate is down, that sucks. I think that to me is unacceptable.
Yeah. Which is also, because all roads lead to Rome, all roads lead to Elden Ring. That was one thing that I think was like kind of absent in terms of like my praising of the DLC. They'd never fucking fixed the PC stutter issue.
No, they didn't.
They never fixed it.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is crazy. I don't even know how many times I died playing the DLC. That's how good the DLC was. I fucking forgot about like that is a huge oversight. But the game literally hitches on a single frame for like probably a good like 10 frames. And then it'll come back. It's like, what the fuck? And you'll die. You'll die from it.
That's a common issue.
Yes. Yeah. You can, if you Google it, it's still there. You'll probably find threads from like a week ago.
You played on console, right, Crossley?
Yeah, I played on console.
It's a PC issue. Yeah.
That's
it'll legit hang on one single frame.
It was there in the base game as well. It honestly, I was contemplating. I remember it being pretty bad at launch on the base game, but they had ironed out some of it. But I was contemplating if it was worse in the DLC than I thought in the base game.
I was thinking that too, but I have no real frame of reference because when I played it, I first played on PC 2-3 years ago, and then I played on PS5, and then I went back, so I have no real reference.
Yeah. Black Myth Wukong is really good. What?
So speaking back on the just like graphical fidelity shit, there was a specific spot in Black Myth Wukong where I was like, yo, we're truly moving into the future of video games where like there's I think you've actually already passed this point, Chandler, but you're going through like a cavernous area with a bunch of carvings on the walls, and it's a very narrow hallway, and you go straight up, and you do this for like probably a good like I don't know, maybe like 10-30 seconds, something like that. But it was just so like detailed and beautiful looking in this tiny narrow ass hallway that I turned the camera to look at the fucking walls on the side, and each individual stone carving was so fucking detailed of each like little Buddha figure. And I like moved the camera as close as I could to the fucking wall, and it was still like high fidelity. It was like a real fucking model. Like it wasn't like a mesh thing or anything like that. And I was like, holy fuck, we're like truly moving into the future where like I could press the camera up against the fucking wall and you could still like make out the detail of this texture. It's like crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't have any I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm spending time looking at the statues because like to me there's like tiers of fidelity in that game. It's like, you know, character fidelity pretty high. Higher than that, I would say, is most of the like building and like wall and things like that, textures and geometry, almost like they scanned in, like they got like, I don't know if they like took high res photographs of like all of these like traditional buildings and all of these, you know, carvings and things like that, and then ported them in directly, like scanned them in. I have no idea.
I don't know.
But to me,
But
that's
I
what it
know what
seems
you're
like,
saying.
because it's like the environments are like the highest res of everything else in the game. It's like,
It's crazy.
like it'll be like, yeah, statues, buildings, things like that are like the top tier, and then next to that is like characters, and
wooden
then it's
logs.
like, right, yeah, wooden shit, and then like foliage.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? I swear to God, I've come across the same fucking wooden log with the like 20 fucking resolution texture of wood just like stretched across it. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this doing here?
Or like like you'll zoom in on certain rocks and you'll be like, that rock over there was in 4K and this rock is in 720p. What's happening here?
Which is like super just, I mean, it's beyond nitpicky, but it sticks out so clearly if you're really like taking in the world, and then all of a sudden it's like just this ugly creature is like just pops up like a jump scare, like, oh, okay, all right. So I don't know what the fuck.
Okay. I kind of want to break this discussion down a little bit differently, because I know we've got some other games we want to talk about, but I want to go through this sort of piece by piece, because I've been working through my feelings on some of this stuff as well. So, combat. Let's start with combat.
Oh, okay.
10 out of 10.
I, at the start, kind of agreed with you. And I'm starting to feel differently. So I kind of want to know...
So is the issue the combat or the things you're having to engage with the combat system given?
I think
I have an idea of where you're going to go with this. To me, the combat, as for what it is, I think is amazing. I think it's really well done. And if I if I want to be super charitable, it's the first game. There's that as well.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Impressive, honestly.
Yeah. No,
I don't know per each individual like designer. I don't know per like how much experience they have each individually. But as a team first game, yeah. But for what it is, I think it's fucking great. I think that there's a lot of depth for what is there in terms of just being able to diversify like your build, quote unquote. Like I know Crossley like spent a lot of time on the pole shit, which I don't think that a whole lot. If I had to guess, most people probably just went the smash route. I put a lot of points into crit and shit more than anything else, which seems to be doing me like pretty fucking well. But I think in terms of longevity, I don't think it stands up very well, because the game goes on for about 40 fucking hours, and you are doing the same combos for like 40 fucking hours. How in comparing this to other games too that do this, but do it somehow better with a lower amount of move sets. I don't know how they continue to just make the game satisfying all the way through. Like, I mean, Elden Ring's a good example. You could say it's build variety, but most people get like Bloodhound Fang or the first sword that they get.
Most people stick to a build for a playthrough. Yeah.
So yeah, the entire fucking game, and you'll do that for like 80 to 100 hours, right? How they managed to make that like incredibly not only just simple, because you really only have like 3 moves, but satisfying.
I mean, let's be real. That is a great example, but it's also like kind of not, because, and this is me just putting my bias out there, but I mean, Souls combat is the best, period, right? Like it's just ultra satisfying. That's their fucking like bread and butter. It's just something about it, some secret sauce they found that fucking gets in our brains. Like the Souls from Soft Combat is just like innately satisfying, and I could do for a long time. But like other games that aren't that, you know, how do they do it? They, I guess, introduce new things at a decent pace, right? And then, you know, what does Black Myth Wukong do? It kind of gives you everything at once, more or less. There's a few things it gives you throughout, but like you get your whole skill tree and then kind of just pick what you want, right? And you can respec any time, which is honestly, I think, a plus. But
well,
maybe
I guess
I probably shouldn't have used Elden Ring as an example, because lots of other hack and slash games do this, and they do it very well. Like I was saying, I was comparing it to God of War, which I just played. That game, that combat doesn't get old. But like to me, Wukong got old after like 20 hours.
I don't know, man.
So-
It's to me, Wukong kind of splits the difference. I think those are both good examples. To me, Wukong's combat splits the difference between God of War and Elden Ring in the sense that it is not quite as like it's not Devil May Cry, right? Or you know, it doesn't have
That's what I'm
nearly
saying,
it doesn't have
yeah.
nearly the move variety or the depth that a Devil May Cry game does. That's not to say it doesn't have any depth at all. It's just, you know, I think no one on earth would argue that there is an objective better combat system between something like Devil May Cry, which has a shitload of options, almost too many, if you're being honest, and then Elden Ring, which has basically 3 components, you know, 4 components to any combat situation. But the way in which you puzzle those together and use them in response to an enemy's attacks is really where the interest comes from. To me, Wukong is the middle ground, right? So there's really no reason why it should feel old halfway through the game. But it kind of does. And to me,
I haven't gotten there yet, so it'll be interesting how I end up feeling as I get further through. But I do already feel like I've like reached the limits of what I can do with the character. You know, it's like even if I get this new ability, like, okay, sure, maybe it'll replace one I have, and I'll just maybe start speccing into that. Maybe I won't, and I'll just keep what I have. So it's like, but otherwise, it's like I feel like I've figured out more or less, you know, what I can do and how strong I can make myself, other than like new gear or whatever new ability I'll get. So it's like I could see where like another 10 hours, I'm like, you know. Yeah, I think I see how I could get there already,
so,
but at the moment I still love it.
And I guess it's interesting because I don't think it is the fault of just the design of the combat systems. So like this kind of ties into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is and we kind of already mentioned it a little bit, but I wanted to do it a bit more in depth because I've seen some people online say that this game is basically a boss rush.
Yeah.
I think if you're being honest, that's for sure not true. But I also kind of think it would be better if it was, because and I feel kind of mixed about saying that. Like I'm being a little bit facetious, but I think there's some truth to it, which is, the design of the exploration portions of the game show cracks pretty quickly. But the main thing that definitely shows cracks is the lack of variety in the basic mobs. Each level,
I was gonna go in that direction, yeah.
Each level does have some unique enemies, but most of those are turned into mini bosses, right? Which is cool. I think all those are super cool. By the way, I'm calling a mini boss anything that isn't. I mean, it's basically anything that's not like the end of the chapter boss, I guess. Because like, there's some like they give a lot of dudes health bars, and some of them you'll beat in like 13 seconds. And then it's funny because there will be no. You know, like to me, a boss is you get a cutscene and then it's a fight, right? Or something like that. Or there's like but like to me, it's like, anyway, not the point.
Yeah,
but so, you know, you spend a lot of time moving around. Like we were talking about this. We were all in a Discord chat the night the game came out. We were all talking while we were playing it. At that point in time, I was having a lot of fun engaging with like those like, were they wolves, I guess? The basic enemies at the start in the jungle. I thought that level,
I know what you're talking about.
That first chapter so far was really the best. Like the game put its best foot forward, I think, in terms of basic enemy design, because they were not super challenging, but you still had to be awake, right? Like you couldn't just mash buttons and get through everything. Like there was a decent amount of variety. There was a decent amount of challenge. You know, you have like the basic guys who have kung fu moves just like you, and then they started introducing like the crow guy and the waterfall, and that was cool. And then you've got, you know, mini boss guy with the fire who turns into your first transformation, and then you go into the forest and there's like those guys, the bone guys, and you know, just different, there's a lot of different types. That like system isn't really firing on all cylinders in the same way it is in the first chapter again. The minute you get to chapter 2 in the sand, you get like a few of those basic guys again, and then you start getting, and then you fight rock people for like a shitload of time, which just isn't fun, in my opinion. And I was like, okay, I don't know about this. Like, it's whatever. And then, like, you know, you'll get like the shield guys, and you're like, all right. I mean, like I'm not talking about the little shield guys. I mean, like the big shield guys. And you're like, okay, they make horse sounds for some reason. I guess they're horse people. I don't know. Horse skeleton guys. And to me, the basic enemy combat starts losing steam, and then it kind of just only continues. I guess what's been interesting for me in chapter 3 is that they've definitely, the enemy variety keeps getting lower and lower, but the basic enemies start having like mini boss level move sets and health pools. I don't know. Did you notice that, Merced? Like the monk guys, the blind monk guys, they'll hit you for like a third of your health. They're slow, so realistically you should never be getting hit, but that means every fight takes forever. How many of those guys did you run past? Be honest.
I mean, basically all of them, except for the first like 2, 3.
I mean,
and it really was only because of the amount of health that they had. Otherwise, then it would have been like, you know, it would have felt like there was like an interaction between me and I think, and that was the main thing that I was going to bring up, is that a lot of the enemies that you end up running into, it doesn't really feel like we're interacting. It doesn't really feel like there's a lot of like give and take whenever I'm fighting them. Mm-hmm. It's more so just like, I'm gonna hit the shit out of you and hopefully I can get my shit off. And if not, then that's okay. Then you'll hit me once and then I'll keep fucking hitting you again. Like it doesn't really feel in the same way that like a lot of other like hack and slash games, there's a dance where it's like, I need to be able to fight you in a way where I can dodge whenever you're trying to hit me.
Right.
But the vast majority of the enemies, it doesn't really matter if they hit you or not.
I think they nailed what you're talking about in the boss fights and the mini bosses for the most part, like the dance, right? But that's the thing about the regular enemies. Like, you know those like big muscle guys with the boulder? They just carry around a boulder that's on a chain.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or do those guys not do anything? Like, they just stand there and take it. But I have to do my full combo twice in order to kill them.
Yeah, I feel that way about like the vast majority of the enemies.
It's just weird.
Because all I'm doing is I'm just moving a little bit to the right around most enemies, and then just constantly doing my combo.
Beating the shit out of them.
And just doing that, and then I do that twice, and all right, nice. See, it's just there's not much to it, really. Yeah. It's not like... So you're basically mowing the lawn is what you're doing as you're like moving through the levels. And I think you're right too. I think coupling the combat with the exploration mechanics also like leads to a greater sense of fatigue a lot faster than you would like, because as you're going through all these corridors, and each corridor splits off into another fork of 2 other corridors, and then you don't have a full understanding of how all these areas are looping back in around each other yet. Now all you're thinking is, it's like, I need to find some fucking connection so I can wrap my head around how the fuck this place is. And I can't spend my time fucking fighting every 2 meters. There's like 3 or 4 guys, you know? Like, so, and that happened to me, especially in chapter 4, where I was like, bro, I haven't, spoilers, it's a cave. But I was like, bro, I haven't even figured out this fucking cave system yet. And there's like 20 fucking dudes in this room. And all I want to do is just figure out how all this stuff connects so I can go back and then I can go get all this other stuff. I think that leads to a greater sense of fatigue than the devs probably intended in that sense.
And I guess that leads me to my second negative, I suppose, which is all of the way all of these systems are interlinked through exploration feels like padding. Like chapter 1, like I said, perfectly paced, perfectly designed, in my opinion, the best so far anyway that the game could be. I think, is chapter 1, because it's got a good mix of regular enemies, bosses, and the way the levels are laid out is fun to explore, and they interconnect really smartly.
Yeah, I agree.
Chapter 2, you start to feel a little bit like okay, I'll give you an example. You know where you fight the rock garden guy? I say rock garden, like the big
blue guy.
It's like a series of a bunch of rocks amalgamated into a giant guy. It was a nothing boss, so if you forgot, then fair enough, because like it was a big named boss, like you had to fight it, but I didn't die on him. I don't even think I had to think about fighting him.
I think I know. It's in the chapter 2.
Yeah,
it's in
chapter
the sand
2
area.
Yep, in the sand area.
And it's right before the sand slide to go. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember, but there's like that, and then you do a bunch of stuff, and I'm still having a lot of fun at this point. I mean, I think chapter 2 is overall pretty good. It's just there's some weak points, but it highlighted to me the pointlessness of the way they designed their levels. When you fight that guy, you go through the whole, like, basically the rest of that chapter, and then you come around and you pop out at like a little tiny ledge that's above that boss arena, and you just boop and you drop down.
And you don't even realize it, and then you're like, oh, this is where I am now. Yeah.
You're like, okay. Because
you thought it was leading to a cool place.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about going behind the Titan. Yeah. And all it does is just loop you around, and there was nothing of great significance.
It's just kind of they wanted you to feel the Dark Souls moment where you're like, oh, wow, these levels are really connected. But I mean, the reason that shit's cool is because usually when those levels are connected,
there's a door,
or it's meaningful, right? It's like, I need to use this again. I need to use this shortcut to get back to the rest of the level, or I need to, like there's some kind of lore thing here, or there's something substantial about that connection. This was just, why did it dump me out here when I could teleport for free at any time and it doesn't matter at all? You could have just been a dead end with a shrine and it wouldn't have made any bit of difference, like it's just, and they seem to do that at arbitrary points in that game a lot. But
the shrines definitely don't make sense sometimes.
No.
Like, really don't make sense sometimes.
But chapter 2, I think, was still pretty good, like closer to chapter 1. Chapter 3 is funny because they're dabbling in more with wide open areas, right? What kills me is so the temple that I'm in, a lot of just open space. And I understand, that's how those temples are really built. Like, if you go to Asia and you spend any time in those temples, you're like, they just loved the ground. Because it'll be like, there's a building, and then a mile away there's another building, and they're in the same compound, but they just wanted to have open space between them. Maybe there's like a thought process. I'm sure there is, right? Like a philosophy or a thought process behind that design. So I understand that the developers of the game wanted these temples to be as realistic as possible. I am running out of stamina just trying to cross the fucking level, dude. Like, what is, it is just so huge. I think this game would be half as long if you took out running. Like
there's a lot of
the amount of just running.
Just make Wukong a little faster. Just make him a little faster.
Yeah.
He's pretty slow.
You know what the smartest decision Elden Ring ever made is that your stamina doesn't go down unless you're in a fight. You can sprint forever in Elden Ring, and your stamina doesn't go down until you meet an enemy, and then it goes down. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just little things like that, and then you think, oh, well, it's first time developer. They'll figure it out, right? Which is true. Like, I'm sure they will. But we're not doing our jobs as, our jobs, finger quotes, as we're not doing our jobs as game players. We don't call this shit out, you know what I mean?
True.
Game developers, I'm putting you on notice.
And you know what too? This makes Liza P so much better.
It does.
Because they fucking nailed everything about that game. It was what I mean, like,
that's a little aggressive.
Let's say you're like, but the level design's not that good. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, it's not that great. Like, my bad. But still,
it is better than this. It's better than
but
this.
yeah,
Sure.
but everything like about that game is like, there's nothing bad about Liza P, and Liza P doesn't stick the landing on like what? Like that, it does a good job on everything. It doesn't do the most amazing job on some things, like level design. But yeah, for like a first foray into like that kind of shit, like,
No,
holy
you're right.
fuck, they did,
I think that was their first game
job.
too, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty
I think
sure
that was
Neo
their first game. But like, that's the thing. That's what's so funny. So like,
the first game like that. They worked on other stuff. Sorry.
Cross is just trying to shit on Liza P.
No, fair enough.
He hasn't played it.
No, that's a good point. I don't
Person
know.
just likes to, I don't know, create false opinions that don't exist just because I haven't played a video game.
You see the moment I started talking about Liza P, he like leaned forward. He's like, oh fuck, oh god. He's like sweating. He's like, I have to think of something. Actually, it wasn't. No, that wasn't their first game ever. Nope, actually.
Oh god,
ridiculous.
It's like he doesn't want me to play it.
Somehow we have become.
He's just pushing me away. He thinks, tough love works on me.
We have a house divided here at the. I don't think I never even introduced the podcast. I don't think, but we have a house divided on the Lies of P topic here at the Infinite Scale podcast. There's
Do we?
deep love and deep lack of concern from Cross. I wouldn't even call it that he dislikes it. He just doesn't feel that strongly about it in either direction. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
I don't know. It's like he's like it's like you don't even want me to play this game. It's like, bro, I'm the one offering you like a nice slice of cheesecake, and then you're just like, you think joke's on you. You're just pushing me away from the cheesecake. It's like, bro, it's a good piece of cheesecake. You can eat it. It's not gonna hurt me if you don't.
Yes. Okay. I think we've come to an understanding. If you watch Dune, I'll play Lies of P. And mine's a much bigger time commitment, so suck my dick.
He is right.
We're both gonna enjoy both things. I just haven't done it for no reason. And
he's got your ass. I think he cooked you, bro.
I'll wait for movies, and I'll.
I have a good reason to not watch.
You actually don't, but that's
Dune.
Nice.
So, which is Timothée Chalamet. So I'm not gonna stand idly by as Hollywood twinkifies all of my main male protagonists.
Twinkifies?
Okay. I'm not okay with that. All right. We need real men.
So you're saying
real men.
Who should have been cast as Paul Atreides?
Probably The Rock.
While we're on this note, real quick, Chandler,
fucking Jason Statham.
without us like saying too much about it, I guess. But in Dune 2, that moment when Paul is in the like big room and talks to all of them, towards the end, they nailed that. Like, it was so fucking good with the music build up and his delivery of the lines. Like, it was so fucking good, dude.
Yeah.
Like, God.
You just want to take a trip down memory lane here on Dune 2.
We were on it for a second. I was literally thinking about that today. I can't remember what I looked at or watched that made me think about Dune 2 earlier before we started. I was like, God, they fucking nailed that moment. But
that movie has some of the best first 5 to 10 minutes of any movie. Like, there's just something about the like very beginning of Dune 2 where they're in the desert. Like, one of the first shots is those guys like flying up the side of that mountain. It's that alone is worth sitting through that whole movie. Like, I'm
glad you think that, because I remember feeling something similar every time that I've watched it. I've been like, what is so fucking good about this? And it just is. And it's just like, from sound design to cinematography, it's just like all so fucking good.
I think I personally think Dune 1 is more enjoyable to me, but I did like Dune 2 as well. And I think the beginning is like the first 20, 30 minutes of Dune 2 is like an amazing movie, and then it starts to lose me a little bit, and then the last 20 to 30 minutes is also an amazing movie.
I think it's like, I do think the first like half or whatever of Dune 1 is like fucking peak movie shit and peak adaptation, and then something about the rest isn't like, there's nothing wrong with it per se, like I still enjoy it, but it I don't know what it is. It doesn't.
You're talking about Dune 2 or 1?
1, the second half of like 1. I don't know how to fully explain like what I don't want to say don't like about it, because that's not true, but it's like something's not quite right, and I don't even know what it is. I couldn't even tell you what it sort of like almost bothers me about it, but it's like maybe it's a pacing thing, or I don't know. I'd have to like maybe watch it again and try to get my thoughts on that. But yeah, it's like the way things play out for the like beginning of 1 and stuff towards how they start playing out. It's like, I don't know. It just feels like cohesion and then, you know, random events almost. Maybe I'm wrong. It's kind of been a while since I've watched it, but yeah, I don't know. And then it just ends so suddenly, which makes sense because the second movie picks up immediately where that ends. And I don't know. It's like, I get it.
I think Dune is one of those movies that benefits greatly from having any knowledge about the books in advance.
That's interesting. I didn't know anything about Doom when I went into.
I think that movie has, as a viewing movie experience from the perspective of like, I just want to sit down and absorb the vibes and see some action and see some good acting. It is still really good, but I think if you have knowledge about what's happening already, it gives you a lot more to work with.
I will say, it's funny that you say that. You just like unlocked a like memory for me. I didn't know shit about Dune when the first one came out, and I just went in basically completely blind. Like I knew like some lore, not about Dune lore, but like the lore of Dune, like in our pop culture, you know, like I knew of Dune, and I knew it had some impact on like other science fiction and like, you know, George Lucas or whatever the fuck and whatever. I knew of it, but I didn't know anything about it. Paul Atreides, any of the actual Dune lore, nothing. I didn't know shit. I knew spice was the thing, but I didn't even know what spice was. Yeah. And so, you know, I go in.
It's cocaine.
I have a pretty good time. And just thoroughly enjoyed it. Like start to finish, the whole movie. Like my only complaint was that I could not watch the sequel that fucking day, because I would have. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was so in and I just wanted more of it. You know what I mean? And then I went home and sort of like did a little lore digging, and I was like, yeah, what was this shit? Like, you know, like what was any of this stuff? Because it's kind of like sensory and information overload in a sense. Like you're able to follow as just like a person watching a movie, but in terms of like everything else, like who all the alien races are and like just, you know, a lot of the other like stuff that's not at the forefront, and it's just like they're literally just dropping it, and it's like at the beginning, for instance, when they come to Oscar Isaac's planet and are like, hey, you're gonna run the fucking thing now, good luck. There's like so many things there, like from the people that come off of the ship and are visiting, like, you know, the fucking dudes with the spice like helmet things on, and like all those people, there's like so much there, and they just don't explain anything. And then they have like their Mentat doing his fucking eyes thing and like running some sort of calculation for the amount of money they just wasted to come there. And like, you know, like you said, if you don't have that like Dune knowledge, you literally don't know so much going on in this movie. But then I went home, did some research, you know, got, you know, well informed, and I rewatched the movie again on Max because they did that like simultaneous release thing. And I literally watched the movie again like the next day after like watching a bunch of lore videos and shit. And the movie was like 20 times better, and I already loved it. It's just like you were saying, I had all this greater context now for everything going on in the world of Dune and everything that had happened, like, you know, leading up to the story of like Paul Atreides and stuff, and it's like, holy shit, this is all so fucking good. Like, and now I'm like in even times 10, and I just wanted a sequel even more.
It
And
does,
I mean,
it does
they nailed it. He fucking killed it with the sequel. It's so fucking good. He
it does
nailed
what
it.
it does what good movies do, which is give you enough context to get from the beginning to the end and generally know what happened. But
Yes.
I mean,
But you definitely walk away asking questions,
you
and
can
not
get
in a
a
bad
lot-
way. You're so interested. You're just
you can get a lot more out of it if you know
Yeah.
generally what's going on. So
Yeah, and that's true for a lot of things. But it's like it's interesting because sorry to stay on this point for so long, but I do think it's like specifically so interesting with Doom because I think a lot of people weren't sure how like people that weren't familiar with Dune would take the first movie going in blind. And I literally went and saw it with my mom and she fucking loved it. And I mean, she doesn't give a fuck about like, shit I care about. Like I'm super into like over the top sci-fi concept shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could eat that shit up all day. And she's into like soap operas and like, I don't know, Tom Cruise movies.
It is also a soap opera for sure.
Well, sure, but whatever. It's not. But moving on.
There's a love triangle, bro. It's basically a soap opera.
It was just really cool to see that like even she could like really get into it, and she doesn't know shit about Dune. She's not about to go home and like watch the fucking YouTube videos that I did and look up all these fucking things and shit. So it was just nice to know that like me and her could walk away blind, really interested and eager for the next one. And then also on top of that, there's like all this other greater context you can go and like get invested in and then go back and like enjoy the movie all over again from like a whole new perspective. And it's just, I don't know, so well made. Peak. Love it.
Denis Villeneuve is a good filmmaker.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up Black Myth Wukong discussion, I just want to say one more thing. I think in the grand debate of whether this is a Souls-like or not, I think it's not, but they did obviously borrow some stuff, right? And I do think that the stuff that they did borrow actually detracts from what makes Black Myth Wukong good. Outside of the stamina system, I think the stamina system is a good call, but I do think that their insistence on taking the level design leanings from the Souls genre, shortcuts, the loop backs, things like that, I do think that is contributing to enjoying the game less. So
yeah, these things are just not really necessary. I think moving forward, games that are wanting to create like third person action, you don't have to. It's okay. No. You can make a linear level, people will enjoy it. If it's not your strong suit, just don't fucking do it.
Yeah. Good game though. I mean, really good game.
Yeah. I feel like we spent a lot of time generally talking about the like more negative aspects of it, but at the end of the day, like it's a great game. Even if I don't pick it up again, I got like 20 hours into it. I enjoyed the fuck out of my time with it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure one day I'll go back and pick it up again.
I think I will see it through. Like I'm enjoying it enough still that I will.
It's just Deadlock, dude.
It's Deadlock is for sure how I would like to be spending my time, but I'll
right.
I mean, throw a couple hours here and there that game,
yep.
And just keep trucking away. I mean, I'm not taking long enough off from it that you forget how everything works, but just giving yourself some time to reset. Still super fun. I'm really enjoying it. Favorite boss so far.
That question?
Yeah.
I actually think the beetle was the coolest.
Oh,
the beetle was the coolest. Yeah, okay. Especially with the cutscene that you get with the what's his name? The yellow rat leader. Yeah,
that's the wind sage. That's the same guy you fight.
Yeah. And you get the cutscene with him like fighting the beetle with you and everything.
Yeah, it's really good.
That shit was pretty cool.
It's
That
really
shit was
cool.
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, the dragon. Oh, the dragon's really fucking cool too.
The white one?
I would say the dragon. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I was watching a reviewer who said the same thing. I didn't care for that fight too much.
I just love the cutscene and everything afterwards too,
It's cool.
which is like a big deal to me. The fight itself, like the fights themselves in terms of like which one is the most satisfying fight out of all of them. Damn. I mean, they're all good in like different ways, but probably I like the boar one the most, which I don't think y'all have not gotten to yet, so I won't spoil it too much. But yeah.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I'm just sort of enjoying my time for the most part, except for the Yellow Wind Sage.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's
that
just
fight,
all fun.
the first part of that fight I enjoyed. I think the second part when the arena gets narrower because of the windstorm, and then he starts summoning a bunch of tornadoes.
It's trash.
It's really bad. He also jumps outside of the arena, even though you can still clearly see him. You can't get to him. I think that's garbage. But
Any game that does that,
yeah,
I don't know what the fuck y'all are smoking or why you think that that's a good thing. If the arena gets smaller, the boss needs to stay inside of the arena.
Yeah,
that shit is so fucking infuriating. It's not fun at all.
So far, if you had asked if we had this conversation a week ago, I probably would have said the tigers, like the blood tiger pool guy in chapter 2 was really fun. You know what I'm talking about? It's like that tiger who stands in the blood pool.
He is really cool.
Thought he was super cool. Yeah. Honestly, all the tigers, you end up meeting like his whole family, basically, I guess. All of those tigers in chapter 2 I thought were really cool. Again, similar deal. The blacksmith tiger, I recommend fighting him if you haven't, Merced.
I'll get around to it. I know what you're talking about. I bought him. I did the first like fight or the obligatory fight. I didn't beat him, and but yeah, I'm definitely gonna go back and fight him again.
I beat him on the first one. You can keep fighting him, and I think he keeps getting stronger and like changing his moveset, which is cool. So, but I beat the first one, and then I haven't beaten the second one yet.
Interesting.
He's really cool. I think that fight is one of the coolest. If you dodge his like signature move, which is like a huge overhand slash that like explodes the ground around him and sends like a shockwave straight ahead, it changes the camera to like a cinematic camera of you guys kind of twirling around each other, which is sick. It's really cool.
There's a lot. There's like a few moments like that are just like really, really cool. They do the whole like dodging mechanic. Like it's really satisfying to see Wukong like flip around and like dodge shit. And
what was up with that weird guy? I thought this fight was pretty cool too. White Evil or White Face or something like that. He was like he like had like a little glaive that he would do ice damage or like wind damage or something, and then he would switch to 2 poison daggers, and he was like really creepy. He had like a bunch of piercings. He was in that area that you were talking about that you really liked, where it was like a super narrow corridor, and you go up to the top and then you fight him. You actually fight him twice. You fight him once at the bottom and then once at the top.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
I thought that was a cool fight. I had a lot of fun with that one. It's not super hard or anything, but the moveset I think is cool. It's like a dance, like we were talking about.
Yeah, he's neat. He's definitely neat. I mean, I beat the fuck out of him, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah. The last thing I'll say, I think the some of the spell stuff. There's some spell things that I like that there's a lot of build variety. You can pretty much go with any spells you want. But it feels like the default, like the first set that you get are kind of the best. Like Immobilize, Pluck of Many, and the invisibility one that you then get a sneak attack on them.
The
Cloud
strike or whatever.
Yeah,
Cloud
strike, cloud step, whatever. And then the first transformation you get, the fire guy, the wolf with the fire thing. I was using him.
Yeah, he's really good.
I was using him for a really long time. I've switched to the when you beat the blacksmith, you get to turn into him. That's pretty cool, but honestly, I still think being able to set someone on fire is kind of broken. It does a lot of damage.
I don't know. Whenever I change into the fire dude, I just hit the triangle over and over and over again.
Bro, that's stupid. You don't even know how it works.
Because then he just does, that's a fuck ton of damage. That's like a quarter of their HP, dude. That's like a quarter of like a boss's HP. Easy.
Leave it to Merced to go unga bunga mode on everything, dude.
Literally.
If you do your basic attack, it charges up that the power of that move. So if you let it charge all the way up,
10 years.
All right, man.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do your own thing, man. Do your own thing.
No, that's all right. I'm okay.
All right. Let's talk about Deadlock.
Oh, wait, before we step off of Black Myth Wukong, easily the most attractive and realistic looking women I've ever seen in a video game. 10 out of 10. Good job, guys. Good job, Chinese people.
Damn, dude.
You did great. Dude, those women were fucking Wait, you haven't seen them yet, damn.
I've seen the dragon.
Yeah, they're more. They're like because she doesn't get like a whole lot of screen time, but later on, like you meet like a whole fucking crew of very attractive women. And they're on screen for like an exorbitant amount of time, and you're just like, holy fuck, like they're like enamoring. It's crazy, bro. But yeah,
hell yeah, dude,
crazy.
Gaming is back. Gaming is back. Gaming
is back.
Finally, Merced and the hashtag gamers have something in common.
That's gonna be my scale if I start writing reviews online. There's gonna be another one underneath.
So what you're telling me is you're bringing back XPlay.
Yes. Dude, please. Deadlock, though.
Deadlock. Man, what can we say about Deadlock? There's almost too much.
I feel like everyone's playing the fucking thing now.
Yeah. For those who aren't keeping
the damn game.
Did we talk? I think we talked about this last time. For those who haven't been keeping track of the saga, basically the floodgates opened after a journalist wrote an article about this game having gotten into the beta before anybody. Like, it was kind of an open secret that Valve was working on this, and people knew generally the type of game it was going to be, but I don't think anybody really knew how far along in development was, or the fact that there was an already pretty large-scale playtest going on. Until this guy wrote this article, basically with screenshots and footage showing everything off. I'm going to be honest, I think I said as much the last time that we talked. I thought it looked like ass. It does look like ass. And I don't mean that like it looks like super ugly or anything. It just looks extremely unfinished, which it is. So fair enough. It is one of the most fun games I've played in many years. It's kind of insane. Multiplayer.
I think to an observer, if you're watching someone play the game, you'll literally just be like, this does not look fun at all. But like, dude, there's something when you're playing that game, bro. Yeah. That's the first time, and I don't even know how long, playing a multiplayer game where I looked up at the timer and I was like, it's been 40 fucking minutes, bro.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's scary. Like, it's actually scary. Like
it's got the League effect 100%. It's got the League effect.
That's making me nervous because it's
fun.
It's really fun. 4 games basically are. If you played 4 games, you just took 4 hours of your life.
That's your afternoon. Yeah.
So
for sure, 100%.
When we were kids, that was easy to get away with. Now, as adults, it's like, oh, okay, I really am spending my time on this. I am choosing to spend my time on this if I'm playing this game.
Yeah, there's no shot I'm playing this game prior. I'm actually, I was just about to say there's no shot I'm playing this game like pre 6 o'clock. But I mean, they basically hold me to that anyway, since the fucking playtests are only from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. on weekdays.
Yeah.
But irregardless of if that wasn't there, I would have to fucking hold myself to not play that game unless it's like after like 6 p.m. because
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a time sink. I checked. I think it was like almost like 4 days after whenever we first got access, and I checked the time, or someone checked the time, and they were like, "Merced, you have 22 hours." I was like, "I have 22 fucking hours in this fucking game, bro." Yeah, it's wild. So, but it's fun. It's just incredibly fun.
Yeah, it is incredibly fun, which is interesting because it has almost like a it does obviously have a League of Legends thing. It does have a little bit of Overwatch in there in terms of heroes and abilities and stuff like that, but what it really has is just good shooting mechanics. Like, it just feels good to farm creep, to move around, good traversal. Like, it could be, this is how I know that this game's going to be successful, is like they've looped in all of the things that are really addicting about MOBAs and hero shooters and combined them in some of the smartest ways. But you know what's funny is, like, you could take the movement mechanics, apply them to literally any genre, and it would be a good game. Like, seriously. Like take the base shooting and the base movement, third person, whatever. This would be a good game. But they dialed in on exactly what they wanted to do with those mechanics, and everything works so well together. The MOBA style lanes, the zip line, how fast you move. Every character gets a dodge roll that are different speeds and different amounts of dodge rolls and different traversal styles. It just feels really good.
Yeah, every mechanic feels incredibly purposeful and feels like there's like a lot of thought into it. For every mechanic that's in the game, there is also another way that mechanic interweaves with some other, like, like peripheral mechanic that exists within it, like things like whenever you dash, then you gain momentum, so you can also jump, or you can slide. If you dash and you jump at the same time, you also get double the momentum, but also you're using double the amount of your stamina. So what they did was, for characters that could utilize this, they added in an item where if you buy that item and then you jump, or you dash and then you jump, it only uses one stamina bar. So like things like that are like really, really cool. And yeah, especially like them bringing back the like denying mechanics, things like that from Dota, which clearly like they were incredibly satisfied with. So they thought, wow, what a genius thing this was. So let's go ahead and bring that back. I don't like the denying mechanic in Dota. I do like it here. I don't know what the real difference is, to be completely honest, but it just feels a lot more fair in this game.
You basically, that's what's interesting. So I've played so few matches of Dota, and I barely remember them. In Dota, when you deny, you're obviously denying the enemy money, right? Do you get money for denying in Dota, or no?
I don't even think I'd be able. I want to say no, but I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly.
That's what's interesting about this. So I guess we should kind of rewind a little bit. The game is the base design of the game is a MOBA. You have 4 lanes. There's certain numbers per lane, like 2 characters in some lanes. Some lanes are solo lanes, so 1v1. There's nothing swapping you from rotating around. There doesn't seem to be an agreed upon meta where certain characters belong in certain lanes or anything like that. You have creeps, so like little dudes that march from your base towards the enemy base, and there are turrets, and you use your creeps just like League of Legends or just like Dota to soak up damage while you kill enemy players, enemy creeps, enemy structures like the turrets and things like that. What makes it really smart is when you kill an enemy creep, which you have to do, by the way. You can't just let them die from your creeps and be in the vicinity and get money like League of Legends. You have to shoot it. If you do not shoot it, you get nothing. You or someone else on your team. Everyone in the vicinity gets money for it, and it divides it based on how many people are nearby. When you kill one of the little creeps, you get money immediately. Then there's a little soul that floats up into the air. If you shoot it or it explodes like normally, you get the rest of the money, right? Like basically it's like it'll be like, let's say 50 gold for when it dies and then 50 gold for when the soul pops or you shoot it. If the enemy shoots it, they get that 50 gold. That is genius. So like if you're really good at denying or you're playing a character who has a lot of bullets in their gun, you are just constantly raking in money and denying the enemy money. They're still getting something, right? Because they get a little bit when the little guy initially expires. But so it just makes it really fun. And I don't know if that was in Dota or not, like getting money from denials. But it means if you're really diligent about this, you can get your economy going.
You can ass blast the fuck out of your laner. Yeah.
Dude.
You can absolutely within, I would say honestly, like
5
to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can literally you can go look how much that you have. You'll probably be up like I would say like maybe like 400, 600, which is like two items. You walk back to the shop that's right next to you. You buy those 2 items. You walk right back in the lane and you fuck the shit out of the person that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Like and it can happen really, really fast. And if you're not paying attention, your enemy laner is going to do it to you.
Yeah.
So, and the cool thing too about like this more intricate denial system is that it's almost like a game that you're playing 24/7 constantly. Whereas like in things like League, if you're not fighting your enemy laner, you're just kind of like standing there and you're just waiting for the creep to die. You're not really like, there's no pure interaction that's really occurring in a moment to moment gameplay perspective other than you waiting for your minion to get low enough for you to right click on it. Whereas for this, like this more intricate mechanic, now you're being forced to do something based off of what your opponent is doing as well. So you need to be paying attention to what your opponent is doing, where your creep are in relation to their creep, and constantly be positioning as well.
Yeah.
So, just the amount of extra attention that mechanic demands from you causes the laning phase to be a lot more entertaining. So I think they nailed it. They nailed it whenever it comes to just with that one mechanic alone, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then dude, just the wide variety of heroes that we have to pick from already. Like it's 20, so in terms of like a MOBA standard, we're not exactly like, we're not inundated with a ridiculous amount of champions, but it's a healthy amount right now that I think fits almost anyone's play style, to be honest. I can't remember in terms of like the variety of moves and how they interact with each other too. Valve killed it on that front. I don't know if you were in that game last night, Chandler, but it was there was a Viscus that we had, and what he can do is he can turn a player into a cube that can't move or do anything, but also cannot be hurt.
And they
so
heal while they're in it.
Yeah, and so you can essentially save your teammate if they're about to take a fuck ton of damage. And I was low, so someone turned me into the cube, and then Jacob, who was playing the gargoyle, has a move that can pick up a player and move them at will. So one of my teammates, I was about to die, turned me into a cube, and then Jacob flew in, picked me up as a cube, and then took me away. So it's like things like that, like a lot of the ways that the abilities interact allow for a lot of creativity as well.
It's true. Yeah,
very cool.
I was there. I think I was playing the turret lady for that game, McGinnis or whatever. Yeah, we had some interesting games last night where we're clearly getting to that skill level point where, it's kind of a shame because I think I've played a total of 10 matches, but I probably played a total of 20 matches. Probably about a 50-50 win-loss, to be honest, maybe a little bit skewed towards loss, mostly because we've been spending a lot of time experimenting with different characters. I think, Merced, you're the one who has dialed in the most on the character that you want to main, I guess.
For sure, yeah.
Like you're going to have to tell me who that. Oh, that's the cop. That makes sense. Yeah. Jail warden, obviously.
Have you played since I've started maining the cop?
I don't think so, honestly. I don't think so. Yeah. And I've never played him. I've never played him. But
it's insane.
So far,
if I was good at the game, it'd be crazy, bro.
Let's see. So far, I think according to Tracklock GG, so far my highest win rate characters, I've and by the way, this is like all of the games that I've played. I haven't played a single character more than 3 times. And
That's good.
I've played Dynamo 3 times. He has my highest win rate with 66%, a 1.75 KD. I've got a 15-16 elo with him according to this, and who knows how accurate this site is, honestly. Abrams 2 matches, 50-50 win rate.
Well, I mean, the elo is just going to be a flat number. So if they're pulling, which I mean they are, they're pulling from Valve shit, then yeah, it's accurate.
McGinnis 50-50 win rate, 2 matches. Kelvin 50-50 win rate, 2 matches. Vindicta 2 matches, 100% win rate, which is funny because according to the main page on tracklock.gg, she's the lowest win rate champion in the entire game, which I think is really hilarious. It's probably because she has a really high pick rate. Like, when was the last time you played a match that didn't have a Vindicta in it? For those listening at home and who can't keep track of the names, like I can't. Vindicta is the sniper with her feet out.
Yeah, exposed feet. So there's a lot of people speculating, and I agree with them, that there are builds that people are going because it's built in the game, just like Dota. Where if you open up the UI for the shop, you can literally just browse the most highly upvoted build in the game and then just copy paste that build. And there's a lot of people speculating that these builds, while they're highly upvoted, does not mean that they are good builds or that they are the best builds. They are simply the most highly upvoted community builds. So like Vindicta being the most picked, probably because of her feat memory and also being a pretty cool character. But like so high pick rate and then probably a suboptimal build recommendation is probably going to decrease her overall win rate by like a good bit. And that's probably just straight up true. We'll probably, like, moving forward, we'll see a lot of these win rates end up changing as the community starts to wisen up on how to build. And different people. Like,
balance is nebulous at best right now. I mean, they're just kind of moving things in general directions and seeing what happens. I mean, I feel like there's definitely some stuff about specific characters that needs to be worked on.
Some of them are pretty obvious. Yeah, I
mean, check this out. According to Tracklock, and again, I mean, they're pulling data from Valve, but I mean, who knows how? There could be some margin here for percentages and things like that to be different. But to me, this gap, there's no way that this gap could be that wrong. Top 3 heroes. Guess what they are. Most picked. And I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. It's top 3 heroes with the highest win rate. Who do you think they are?
7.
Okay.
7's definitely in there. McGinnis is in there. Hayes, Wraith,
Crossley.
You want me to give 3?
Yeah, just give 3. Yeah.
7. Hate that my bias wants me to say Warden.
Oh yeah, Warden probably, actually.
7 Warden, and then what's that? I don't know the name of the character I'm thinking of, but there's one that is literally like insane that's not 7 that has like some crazy AoE ult.
Probably Dynamo. You're talking about the Nebula where he sucks everybody in.
I don't think I'm thinking of I know his. Isn't there another ult similar to 7's that's like lightning everywhere?
Hayes.
Huh?
Hayes has like a Reaper ult.
Hayes is Reaper, if that's what you're talking about, the Reaper ulti.
Where they spin around in circles with like their guns and do massive damage.
It might be Hayes then. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure who I'm thinking of, but it might be Hayes, so we'll say Hayes.
So okay, you guys are pretty accurate. Merced actually, after you spoke, then got all 3. So well, you both got, and I think anybody could pick number 1, which is 7. Highest win rate in the game, 56%. Here's what gets ridiculous. Also, highest pick rate in the game by a lot. Like a lot.
Yeah. He's in every game.
91%.
Yep, that's what I was going to
say. He's the coolest design, and anytime you play against him, you're like, yeah, that seems good. So
91% of
why wouldn't you pick him? Yeah.
This is ulti. Wait until if they tune down his ulti ever, that shit's gonna fucking plummet.
91% of games.
It's gonna be fucking dunzo.
Like that's insane. So
but that's what I was saying, because I was arguing with this shit online too, where people were like, "Oh, you can't pull from track locker, blah blah blah, because it's not pulling from the highest MMRs, right? It doesn't have an MMR floor." And it's like, okay, bro, it doesn't matter if someone's getting picked like in every single game and they still have a percentage win rate that's like well above everybody else. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I mean, to be fair, like his pick rate's 91%. His win rate, even though it's the highest, is only 56, which, I mean, I say only 50, winning over 56 winning over half is still insane. But by the way, these guys are all over 50%. So 7 has 56% win rate. The next highest is Warden, who Warden is at 55.9%, so almost the same as 7. But his pick rate is, instead of the 91% that 7 has, his pick rate's only 50%. Which is like a huge drop, by the way. So it's like a coin flip of whether a game will have a Warden, but it's an almost certainty that a game will have a 7, which I think is fucking hilarious.
I can say that after playing 7, that dude is fucking broken.
Welcome, Kyle.
Hello.
Yeah, 7 is 7's ridiculous. The third top hero, according to this, is McGinnis. 52% win rate, 63% pick rate. Bottom 3, Vindicta, 44% win rate, 85% pick rate. Paradox, 45% win rate, 51% pick rate. Gray Talon, 47% win rate, 67% pick rate. So interesting spread, but like it to me says that there's still a lot of balance work, which of course, I mean, it's a very early in development game. Like obviously they weren't going to get everything right from the beginning, but just the wide swing is kind of crazy. I'm trying to think, like, I'm thinking back to like the early days of League.
It was a lot worse than this, if that's what you're thinking about.
So, on that note,
do we think so? A lot worse? Like, yes. I remember it being bad, but was it really a lot worse? I really don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I promise you. I still remember things like everyone building fucking Black Cleaver. You could still like go online and find you can find literal, like, you can find the screen caps of right after the match, and everyone, including the supports, built Black Cleavers, like 4 Black Cleavers per person.
Or like,
so like,
I feel like
Riot is actually mentally retarded when it comes to shit like this. Like, very stupid.
I feel like there was an era of that with the attack speed full item too. What is it? The old attack speed item with the 2 swords that like
Zeal or Phantom Dancers. What you're
Phantom Dancers,
about.
And it'd be like 4 or 5 Phantom Dancers and like one other thing, and then that was like the whole comp for.
And then that's not even talking about them messing up whenever it comes to the champions. I remember Kassadin being like just, and they would let this shit hang for like a week. Where that like
release
or like Darius, where it was literally like there was no point in playing. People would literally not play the game for a week, depending on how broken the new champion was. Like,
so funny.
Yeah, this stuff, like 7 being like a 56% win rate is like, it's like, yeah, this is problematic. This is probably not like a very, very good thing to be having for the game right now and for its overall health, but it is absolutely nothing in comparison to everything that Riot has done throughout their entire history. I think, well, I say that, but like they really started to nail down their balance probably like 6 or 7 years ago, if I had to guess. They probably haven't had like a huge mistake in like a long time. But back prior,
wide swings. Yeah. Do you think
ridiculous?
Do you think they'll ever put a pick ban system into
Deadlock?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there one in Dota? I'm assuming they're just gonna go by Dota. That's what I'm thinking. Is they'll whatever the game design philosophy of Dota is probably gonna get carried over into Deadlock.
Is there a ban system in Dota?
I would assume that there's a ban system in Dota. Yeah.
I would know.
Is there a ban system?
Yeah, there's a ban system.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
Everybody gets a ban before the game starts.
Okay.
So yes, there will be a ban system in Deadlock at some point. We just only
there will
have
be a
20
draft.
champions.
Like
There needs to be a higher champion pool for them to ever implement a ban system.
Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah.
Not that we have to fully pivot away from Deadlocked, but while we're on this note of like the early days of League and the amount of champions and stuff, I have been playing Smite 2. And let me tell you, I've been having a good time.
You
and
had
I was
to,
trying to.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
You had to pay money for that, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Crazy.
Go on.
He paid money for it. Bro.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
curious.
the one, I do like Smite. I've played Smite way longer than pretty much anyone I know, and then I also have friends on PlayStation that also like Smite and play Smite regularly. So I had a group going into it.
Smite is a coworker
so
game, by the way. I fully associate that with being a coworker game.
Yeah, sure. But
coworker.
So it's like, I have a group, so it's fine. I don't mind dropping the money. But also the thing where you buy into the alpha unlocks all champions for the full duration of Smite 2. So if I ever want to play, I'll have full access to whatever.
That is cool.
So,
that is cool. I heard about
yeah,
that.
so I'm fine with that. I'm sure they will. It's just...
Yeah, they did it with original Smite where you could just pay it was like $20, you got all champions.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll always have that. It's just nice, like, I have a group that wants to play now, and then I'll also have that as a bonus for forever until they do Smite 3. But I've been having a good time. It's exactly what you expect. It is just a MOBA, with the Smite camera angle, but I've been having a really good time. I was trying to figure out why. And it's because there's only like 20 fucking champions. And the meta isn't like fucking insane. It's like all the like stereotypical champions, I guess, like the fucking the Ashe, the Shaco, the fucking, the Karthus, all the... Smite has the rip-off champions of all the League champions. And it's just like all the fucking classics, and it feels like I felt when I knew what I was doing in League. Not when I first started, but when I knew what I was doing and was playing regularly. But there wasn't a fucking million champions, and my fucking elo wasn't super sweaty. I'm just going in, having a good time, winning some games. Team fighting with my boys.
Yeah, I think that 100% touches on why Deadlock is so enamoring to a bunch of people now too. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right 100%. Because whenever I was talking to Anna, and I was like, you should at least just give it a try. Just give it a try. And she's like, but there's so much, and it's like, yeah, but I mean,
I hope she likes it.
In comparison to League, bruh,
right.
Like, so it's like, at least for me, I feel like I already know like half the champion's abilities, like pretty confidently. I have an understanding of what everyone does.
Yeah.
So, fuck Goo Guy. I have no idea what he does still.
I only know because I watch people play him. Yeah. Goo Guy's pretty cool.
He rolls around a lot.
I think that's the funny thing about the way, like, looking at those stats of how often champions are picked. The ones that I know what they do are the ones I'm playing with or against the most. The ones that I never see, sure. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck you do. You know what I mean? Like, it's
they do circumvent the issue of the issue of not really having a good understanding, and also there not being a lot of good visual clarity is circumvented by you being able to hit tab and hover over the champion at any moment and read their abilities. So that's really nice. Yeah, but there are people like Yamato who, whenever I was talking to Mossberg about Yamato, he was like, yeah, it actually helps to know what her ulti does, because like once you learn, you can kind of just fucking run away from her, and now she's not that big of a deal. But like, you just by looking at what she's doing, you wouldn't have an understanding that, oh, she's getting a bunch of armor, oh, she's getting a bunch of spirit armor as well, and she's getting attack damage, and she's getting lifesteal, but like all that kind of stuff.
All you can tell is that she's invulnerable, right? Or not invulnerable, because you can still damage her, but she can't die. It's like the most basic part of that, but yeah, I mean
that is well. Yeah, I didn't even I literally left that out too. I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, because all she's doing on your screen is just standing there being purple. Yeah, and you're just like, oh, like there's no way for you to know what the fuck is actually going on. But they do circumvent that by you being able to just hit tab and then hover over their abilities. So that's nice.
So I just wanted to bring this up because we were talking about it, and I wanted to look up how it works. Dota 2 apparently changed the way the ban system works about 6 months ago. So instead of basically each person getting a guaranteed ban, right? Like basically saying I'm banning this character, I'm banning this character. Now you pick four, like they pick basically the characters they don't want to see in the game, and then there's a random chance, but the chance is increased if more people pick that character, of that character being banned. So
Oh, wait, really?
kind of weird, right? So the game will prompt you to choose or change the list of heroes that you do not want to encounter in the next match. After selecting the 4 heroes, confirm your ban. So everyone picks 4, and then it just rolls the dice on what the ban will be, with a modified percentage chance based on how many people pick a certain character.
All right.
It's kind of weird.
However they want to do it. Fuck it. But that's going to be a long time down the road, considering we're only at 20 characters. So
What if at launch, like, it's like, okay, how long do you think this game is going to be playable, like testable for? Like, you think they're going to do, like, basically we can play it all the way up until launch, and then one day it's launch?
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Or are they going to take it away at some point and then go, we're bringing it back into the cave, and then they're going to hold on to it for another year in secret, and then it'll just come out one day?
It might just be copium, or hopium, who knows? But I think they're going to keep it open the whole time.
Okay, yeah. They're not going to watch. It'd be, you know, what's scary too. If they brought it into the cave, there would be a 50-50 shot of it actually just being canceled, like Valve game style, like it just never coming out. That would be. They've done it before with games that would for sure make money. So, but it's anyway. I was thinking about that because it's like if they're just going to continuously let people test it as they go, will there be, you know, are they going to drip feed new characters into the testing phase, or is it just going to be like, I don't know, here's what you get these for now, and then, you know, when the game comes out, we'll start adding new ones, but for now we're just balancing the game, doing things like that, and then adding them all in after launch. I don't know. Merced has stepped away.
But yeah, it's a good game. I'm interested to see where it goes when it stops being a good game.
Yeah.
Champion 100.
One day we'll get so sweaty at it that it'll be impossible to have fun anymore.
Yeah.
But until then, I'll continue.
One day, other people will get too sweaty and it'll be impossible to have fun.
Well, that too. I mean, that's kind of already happening.
Yeah, it's got a high skill ceiling, so it's gonna get there quick.
Yeah. As long as they don't add in ranked anytime soon, we'll get to keep having fun. But the day ranked gets turned on, Merced will only play ranked. He'll do that thing where he says, like,
why would I play anything other than ranked?
Yeah, exactly.
The same game, there's no point. It's like, well, you're gonna stop having fun real soon because you're gonna take it too serious.
I need the points to go up. Yeah. And then suddenly he's like excluding half the friend group because they don't play as much.
Yep.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one. Okay, Crossley, anything else you've been playing?
I did fuck around with that blackjack roguelike.
Talking about Balatro?
No, that's the poker one.
Oh, no. That's not
Dungeons
poker. What
and
is it?
Degenerates.
Balatro is solitaire, right? Or is it poker? No, it's solitaire. Is it poker?
I can't tell if
okay.
you're fucking with me.
Just never played it. I never even looked at it, but I know people really like it.
Yeah, it's fun. No, I've been playing Dungeons and Degenerates. It's like a blackjack roguelike. I don't know. It's pretty fun.
That does sound fun.
I don't have much to say. Yeah, if you like Balatro, anyone out there, it is not similar, but it's like in terms of the gameplay itself, but it scratches the same itch, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's like it's playing with your knowledge of real world fucking card games and twisting that in a video game way and making it fun in a rogue capacity. It's cool. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, the problem with me and Balatro is I've never played blackjack, so I don't know any of the hands.
Oh, you've never played poker or Texas Hold'em?
Excuse me. Yeah, poker. I've never played poker.
One, that's a shame. The next time we're somehow all in a room together, we should all play Texas Hold'em or poker and just like throw $10 on the table each and just have a fun little time with it because it's genuinely a good time. I fucking love Texas Hold'em. But the other side of that is it doesn't really matter because you're a gamer and you just apply your gamer skills to the video game. And it's like, okay, in a normal video game, I know my shit, my information. And it's so simple because Full House is just all the cards of this type. A flush is just all the cards of this type. A straight is just all the numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You learn the poker hands like immediately because I didn't know any of them going in either. I love Texas Hold'em and I had no idea what any of the poker hands were.
That's fair.
I just I just didn't, and now I do because of Balatro. You just pick it up so much faster than you think. It is intimidating at first, but then you get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the game, but I do know blackjack obviously decently well. So
yeah, the blackjack one is fun too. I'll let you know. I am at the beginning, so it's like I'm kind of like in my honeymoon phase with it.
Okay.
I'll let you know if it has any legs, but it is older than Balatro. It just now went into full release though in August.
Gotcha.
So
but they're probably feeling a type of way about having their
thunder,
their lunch eaten.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. It's like they've been around longer, so they have maybe like their own little like core audience that's been following them and their updates. And then also Balatro blew up during development. So now they're in full release and there's another hit card game out. So it's like it could almost like boost them in a way because people know Balatro is fun. So they'll maybe think this is fun. People like blackjack. This one is blackjack. And it seems to have more depth already. Like Balatro is like really straightforward in how you play each run. Whereas this is like, there's constantly like, you're basically at a bar or something. The venue changes, but you start out like at a bar or a tavern or something. You're just playing blackjack with people. And like, then after you beat the first stage, you choose a new venue to go to and you can like go into the basement or go to like another bar, I think.
That's cool.
And if you go into the basement, your next opponent's like a rat and just stupid stuff like that. And there's like a bunch of events, like roguelike events that like will shift your deck around and stuff. Like it's already just my first hour in a lot more variety than Balatro. Like Balatro, you just jump in and you're buying your cards and playing your cards. Yeah. There's no like random roguelike events happening that like shake up the mix or different paths you can go down. You're just doing the next stage, which is just a higher number you have to beat.
Cool.
Whereas this, it is like an actual like roguelike. There's things to do and different avenues to take. Not like Slay the Spire, like a literal map or anything. Just like options that lead different paths.
That's cool. That's cool. I
like it.
Let me know how it proceeds because I'd be interested in trying that out. I just I have a difficult time playing roguelike games and sticking with them because I feel like the amount of time I'm investing, I'm not getting the type of game time that I want. You know what I mean? Like I like Black Myth Wukong. It feels like progress. There's like a definite end, right? It's the same reason I can't play MMOs anymore because I need something to like this is this is where you stop and move on to something else, right? And that's the tough thing about roguelikes for me, is that theoretically you could keep going forever if you want. So that's tough.
I guess that I know what you mean with that, and I definitely can't have too many of those in my life at once, but I like to have one or two of those games that's like, I'm not really trying to get to the end of it. I'm just jumping in because I enjoy it and I want to play it for a little bit, and I can hop out anytime, virtually no consequence, and then hop back in when I'm ready a week later, if not longer or whatever. But I know what you mean though, and it's like similar to like Deadlocked or Smite 2, where now I'm like, fuck dude, am I about to be juggling two of these fucking games at the same time because I have a group on PlayStation that wants to play Smite 2, I have you guys over here that are probably going to want to play Deadlocked while that's available, and then I have fucking my coworkers, my literal coworkers that want to play the finals, and then you know, it's like I can only juggle so many games that don't have an end, like you're saying, at once. And Magic is my forever game. That game never ends. So it's like, yeah, I you know, I have so much time in my life, and I don't have a lot of room for those types of games. But there's a bunch of them right now that interest me.
Yeah,
player and single player.
Yeah, there's I've gotten to a point with games now where I want to touch everything, but it's pretty tough, right? Like you get to a point where you're like, okay, what's the best, like, am I wasting time and energy on constantly getting to the first 3 hours in a bunch of different games rather than just getting deeper and deeper into one game, or, you know, whatever. And I mean, it, you know, it kind of ebbs and flows, but I'm in kind of the first few hours in a bunch of different games this week, except for, you know, Wukong, which I'm probably like 20 hours in, like Merced. But to that end, two that I just wanted to touch on really quickly before we go, to see how they unfold. The first is, of course, Star Wars Outlaws. I didn't put a lot of time into it. I think I probably put 3 or 4 hours in. I hit a stride this morning with that game where I realized that it is the perfect game to play first thing in the morning because you don't have to use your brain that much, but it's satisfying in its systems in a way that kind of engages you. Because I was like, first thing when I wake up, I don't really want to play Black Myth Wukong and get all sweaty. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'll play some Outlaws, put some time into it. I kind of just found myself with as stupid as this sounds, do you ever think about how you look when you're like playing a game? Are you ever like, I look pissed right now because maybe I am pissed, or, you know, whatever, or something. Like stupid shit. I was having a moment where I was like, I'm just kind of smiling while playing this. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like this. It's just some Star Wars shit. It's like there's you know, a fucking Mon Calamari lady giving me jobs. There's some guy convinced me to give him money for his gambling addiction. You know, you're like wandering around a Star Wars world and everything just looks and feels nice. I'm like, you know, kind of trying to play as much of a bad guy as you can in a game just because it's a little bit novel. So I get to be a scoundrel, you know, like it's just kind of cool. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. I mean, everybody on Earth knows that this game exists and knows kind of what it is. It's developed by the people who make The Division. So the strength of The Division is that they are insanely good at building realistic spaces. So like you're wandering around these planets and there's like cities that feel very cozy and inhabited in a way that, I was telling Jennifer this and she was like, okay, like obviously giving half of a shit, but like, you know, gets the idea, right? It's like the thing that made The Division cool is that you get to wander around a relatively, you know, decent scale replica of New York. And it's like, okay, that's pretty neat. Right. And then like, you're muted, Merced. I don't know if you knew that.
I said while closing car doors.
Yeah, exactly. Leaning up against the car and shutting the door, which is they had to bring that in from the trailer. If they didn't bring that in from the trailer, everyone would be pissed. That was like the one thing people took away from pre-release footage of The Division was like he was sliding along the side of a car while people shoot at him and he closed the door.
Yeah. That was I want more shit like that back for like E3. Like I remember like fucking what was it? I can't remember what game it was, but it was a third person game, and then the character walked into like a river, and then you saw the ripple effect go off into the water, and the crowd just fucking like lost their minds.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about either, actually. I mean,
this is a long time ago.
I thought you were gonna bring up the Watch Dogs Dust. Remember the Dust?
No, I guess not.
The Watch Dogs E3 demo started in a basement bar or club or something, and then he walks outside and there's like wind blowing because it's fucking Chicago, and so he's got his jacket up and the wind's like blowing his jacket, and there's dust like swirling up into the air and stuff. Surprised you don't remember that. It was kind of nuts.
That would impress me even now.
I know it would, and none of that is in Watch Dogs. So
yeah.
Yeah, no. This game honestly has some of the most impressive little details like that as well. Like Ubisoft Massive is really good. Like they made The Division 1 and 2, both of which had really good, visually very beautiful games. Then they made the Pandora Avatar game, which I did not play because I don't like Avatar very much. But I think the thing that they do well is make really beautiful games, really beautiful spaces that feel realistic and lived in, realistic finger quotes, obviously. How realistic can a Star Wars world feel? But it's like you go into a cantina and there's like, 100 people in there and it feels crowded and smoky and the music is playing and you can lean on the bar. Exactly. Except I haven't heard that song yet, but they do a good, I'm sure they made new songs. They all sound in the genre
of the same genre. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. That's what matters. Honestly, it's annoying. That song was just playing on a loop. So I like that.
No, it's pretty cool. Like they've got a very good, like space jazz, kind of silly whimsy soundtrack for those bars. So it's, there's a jukebox in the cantina in the planet that I'm on, and I haven't messed with it yet, but I'm sure you can change. You can play I assume it's Pazak. I haven't actually looked yet, but it's whatever their poker equivalent is. You can just walk up to a table and join a game. I haven't done it yet. You could bet on the horse race at Canto Bight, the planet from the
movie everybody likes.
Yeah, the most divisive movie in existence. A movie that I like about 50% of.
I like a decent.
Was that The Last Jedi?
That movie.
Yeah. The last third of that movie I think is really incredible, and I think the middle of that movie sucks a lot.
I know what you mean. I think the middle sucks. I think the beginning and end are strong. Like the start, when it's like the no-name characters like trying to drop the bombs on the fucking fleet.
Yeah, it's cool.
And like they all fuck up and it's just the one left and like fucking kisses the necklace and fucking pulls it up. Like, dude, so fucking good.
They do ruin that a bit with They do ruin that a bit with Oscar Isaac's like your mother jokes and whatever the fuck. Like it's,
I know what you mean. Well, anyway. It was your performance, so do better. I guess.
Yeah, I know. I do what I'm given in the script. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
But
every actor's excuse.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It's the director's fault. I suck.
Yell at the writer. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like Star Wars, I think you will find a lot to like about Outlaws. Like, it just feels good to be in the world. The stealth is so far hit and miss.
How was the writing?
Meh. Like, pretty much like every Star Wars project now, it has some good
It's
spots.
easier for me to turn my brain off and just like play a game if I'm like building towards something. But if I can get lost in the world, that's cool too. Like, honestly, huge plus for Star Wars if I'm just able to.
They do not do enough to justify the character of Kay Vess. Like, and I don't mean like Mary Sue shit or whatever. Like, and nobody gives a fuck about any of that. What I mean is, like, she is ostensibly like 24 or something, like young-ish, but not super young. But she's a little bit naive. in a way that you're like, how old are you? Like, are you like, maybe if you were a teenager, this would make more sense. She's kind of written like a teenager, but then she just openly kills people and doesn't think about it at all. Very strange.
She's a smuggler, bro.
I guess, but like at the beginning of the game, you're like a 2-bit. Like you have no power or no sway.
Han Solo is pretty immature, right?
Yeah, but like immature in the way that an idiot man is. You know what I mean? Like you meet like the most headstrong idiot guy you've ever met who thinks he knows everything, and you're like, okay, man, your number's gonna come up one day. You know what I mean? And by the way, Han Solo's number comes up a few times in those movies, and the way he deals with it is pretty poor, right? I mean, he ends up fucking frozen in carbonite. But I mean, it is. I think the Han Solo character development is actually one of the strongest parts of the original, first 3 movies. The original trilogy, and so far, and by the way, I'm still early, but I'd be surprised if this changes because modern Disney, I'm sorry to say, just does not have the writing chops that the people. I mean, it's not like Lucas is a brilliant writer, but he knew enough, right? I really don't think, like, since Disney bought Star Wars, it's just been kid shit. For sure. I mean, the original Star Wars is not like a fucking magnum opus of writing or anything, but it's functional. Every Star Wars movie, even Rogue One on some level, I think Andor is the one exception. Like,
it's so good too.
It's so good,
fuck.
And it's written for adults. I mean, that's really just it. And I
want Merced to watch the prison episodes so bad, just those, honestly.
I mean, Andor is it's the first Star Wars thing that feels like they actually thought about it for 2 seconds. And that's true here too, but the world building around the main stuff in Outlaws is really good. Like there's some gang, kind of background stuff happening, the way they interact with each other, the way the underworld is kind of like given some air to breathe in this is interesting and cool. And I think they do that stuff well enough. Kay Vess's character so far, she's just like kind of silly and whimsical, and she has like a little lizard cat that rides around on her shoulder, and you feel like you were designed for a different video game. Like Kay Vess should be in the Star Wars Rebels cartoon, and they should have like a Boba Fett scumbag or a Han Solo even in this. I just don't get those vibes from her. I don't know. It's just weird. But anyway, the game's pretty fun. The stealth is so far good. A lot of people are complaining about the mandatory stealth sections where you like crawl around on the ground, and then if you get seen, you have to load back and it's an alarm. In the mandatory ones where you cannot get caught, I have not yet been caught. So I can't comment on that. Every other section in the game that's stealth, because like it's ostensibly a stealth game. Every other section in the game that's stealth, it's more like you're gonna get caught at some point, and then it just turns into blasters out, and it's kind of fun. You know what I mean? You kind of like, just bumped my microphone. You kind of you'll get caught, and you're like, oh, we're going loud now, and then it turns into a firefight until you clear everybody out. I think it's pretty fun. I like that. There's a bunch of cool mini games. The hacking mini game is cool. The lockpicking mini game is cool. They do pretty different takes on both compared to one of them is kind of just Wordle. And one of them is like a rhythm game. It's pretty just well made. It's if you were going to put it on a giant bomb star system or say a scale that goes from -10 to +10, 0 being neutral or average, it would be just above average.
Wow. Excellent.
I think Crossley in particular, you would probably enjoy it. I think Merced would.
Seems like it.
I think Merced would hate it and turn it off in about 30 minutes. So there we go.
Interesting.
The last thing I'm going to say, just really quickly before we go, is Tactical Breach Wizards came out. That is developed by the guy who made. Did you guys play Heat Signature?
No, but I know what it is.
I say guy. It's probably a team. I don't know. The company's called Suspicious Developments. A game that I'm pretty sure we all played, or at least a few of us played, is Gunpoint. That was their first game. Which was, you were like basically it was like a stealth game, 2D. And I remember people thinking it was really funny because you had like a jump that you could charge, and you could clear like entire buildings and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. I liked Gunpoint a lot. I played a decent bit of it. Heat Signature I own and basically have never played, so there's that. Tactical Breach Wizards, if you like XCOM, if you like what is the game where you're a mech pilot and there's like timelines? It's kind of a roguelike. It's like a top down and you pick where they go. Oh my god, Into the Breach.
Oh my god. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you like Into the Breach, but want something a bit more about the puzzle of combat and less about like dying and, you know, having to start over like roguelike style. This isn't a roguelike. It's really cool. It's currently it has about 3,000 reviews on Steam and overwhelmingly positive. It's really good. I think sit down, like it's a game that if you just sit down and do like a chapter at a time, you know, which is like an hour or a couple hours at most. Like I think I have like 5 hours in this game so far. It's just really fun, and there's optional side objectives if you want more challenge. There's like challenge rooms that you can do to like kind of hone, and you know, it's just a really good puzzle game. And
yeah, it seemed really good.
I think I actually think it's worth everybody giving it a shot.
Yeah, I'm 100% going to get around to that game at some point. That's pretty high up on my list of things that I want to try out.
It's made me laugh a couple times. The writing is actually pretty decent. Like the story's pretty good. There's some good lore and world building around why it's like fucking. It's basically like think about the Harry Potter world for a second, and then imagine if there was a SWAT team in that world, and that's basically who you're playing as. Like you breach with like magic, and like everybody has like a gun, but it's got like crystals stuffed into the end of it because it does spell shit. It's just stupid, but it's really cool. Half of the game is blowing people out of windows, which I think is really satisfying. So yeah, super fun. The writing is whimsical in a way that sometimes gets on my nerves, but overall is kind of funny. It's a little bit Tumblr-ish, if that makes sense.
That's all right.
But it is all right.
I can deal with a little bit of Tumblr.
It is all right, but it's cute. I mean, they do a good job with it. And I think the actual just plot, like the way things progress, is somewhat interesting. So, yeah.
We missed. We got to talk about the biggest news.
What is that?
In the past couple of weeks, it seems that Concord has not been doing very well.
Is that the biggest news? It's not that's.
I mean,
how is that even news? How does that even qualify as news? Everybody. It's
a tragedy, dude. Now, like everybody, I feel like anyone could have said this game's probably not going to do that well. It's probably not going to sell all that well. But for it on opening week to not crack 700 concurrent players on Steam, that is a incredibly high bar in terms of failure to reach.
Yeah,
like this is a absolute flop. Like you have to try to disinterest this like such an incredible amount of people.
I mean, one cannot overstate how much Deadlock must be hurting them on PC. Like I assume, I mean, they're not the same game, but they're similar.
I mean, Deadlock spread like wildfire, like 5 days ago? When did Concord officially release?
It's been a little over a week now.
Because I would say those initial numbers, now that Deadfire is spreading everywhere, or Deadlock is spreading everywhere, I would definitely say that it is biting into their numbers a good bit. But on those initial numbers, I don't know about that. On the initial numbers, it's probably that
I would say
was
the major Deadlock reveal was like on the 16th of August. You first started playing Deadlock basically a week later on the 23rd. It's now the 31st. When did Concord come out? I mean,
23rd.
There you go. I mean, it's not I'm not saying that that's like everything to blame. I mean, Concord seems like a perfectly decently well-made game, but I think it's just that in particular, that there's limited room in that genre. People who love that type of game are already playing Overwatch. And then on top of that, there's a huge game that everybody's talking about, which is Deadlock. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. Now, the thing we don't know about Concord is what are the PlayStation sales? Could be high.
I believe there was an article that was released today where they said that they have not cracked 25,000 sold.
Interesting. Okay. That would be pretty bad. Yeah, that would be extremely bad.
Concord is estimated to have sold only 25,000 units. So it is an estimation. But that is the estimation is roughly around 25,000 units. So, bro, that's what I'm saying. Like as much as like, it's like, oh, well, it's a failure. Who cares? Like, let's move on. I think disinteresting this to this level, that's fucking crazy,
yeah.
bro.
Well, you saw the article where it said that they've been in development for like 8 or 9 years at this point.
I think so, yeah.
Like, come on. I mean, this is the problem with modern game development is I don't blame that team at all because that's just how long it takes to make games now. Like, games regularly take 5+ years. 8 or 9 is maybe a little on the long side, but then again, it's how long has Deadlock been in development? According to them, it's been about 6 years now.
6 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, things change, trends change. If you're that deep in on a game, it's pretty hard to pull the plug. They took a swing. It didn't hit. I don't really like how much people are interested in really shitting on the team that made the game. Because, I mean, whatever. I mean, they're developers. They're doing their job, right? I mean, it probably wasn't even their choice to make this game.
They're getting direction. Yeah, they're getting direction from other people ultimately. I don't believe that's something,
So, but, yeah, it is sad, though. It's like it's hilarious how mistimed this game was, where people all-time interest in that genre is low, and then there's other multiplayer games that are out that people are more interested in.
Yeah. I mean, would you consider Deadlock to be a hero shooter? Would we call it a hero shooter? Yeah, right?
Yeah, kind of. I think right? The team fights are Overwatch-ish. For sure. I think the rest of the mechanics around the game are more in line with a MOBA, but yeah, it's still a shooter. It's still a hero shooter kind of thing. So
that game's going to be a mess to watch in competitive. I don't know how the fuck anyone's going to watch that.
Apparently, they had the first tournament last weekend, from what I understood, the first pro tournament for Deadlock.
Doesn't mean it was fun to watch, though.
No, I'm sure. I mean, I have no idea if it was or not. But,
yeah. I would be very, very interested to see Valve's crack at it, because for all intents and purposes, Blizzard did a pretty good job. I don't know if you ever watched Overwatch League, but they didn't do a bad job in terms of being able to like visually differentiate between the two teams and have an understanding of like generally what's going on. But the problem is that like regardless, you're not really going to know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
So,
no, I didn't watch. I didn't watch much of it, but I remember people liking it. Yeah, no, to me, the biggest news is that they had a Bungie executive resign for sexual harassment. I thought you were going to bring that up.
Oh, no, I already made a joke about that. I think last night or 2 nights ago.
Oh, nice.
I was like, bro, like this, like the Bungie developer is going to end up getting kicked out. Meanwhile, in Blizzard, people are farting in each other's faces. You know, like that. Like that guy probably feels like he got the short end of the stick, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
so Activision's going to be looking out for his resume.
What a shit show.
He was like, why did I work at this company, bro? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Riot's sexually harassing people.
Yeah, Chris Barrett. According to this article, Jason Schreier wrote it on Bloomberg. Chris Barrett, one of the top executives at Bungie. He'd been there since 1999.
Was he sexually harassing an employee?
He was accused of several. He was fired in the spring. This is just now coming out. People, I guess it wasn't public that this is what he was fired for. But he was fired in the spring after he was accused by several female employees of inappropriate behavior.
You fucked up.
Yeah. He'd been there for a long time. I mean, before Halo 1. He called them attractive to their face, lower level female employees attractive to their face, and asked them to play Truth or Dare.
Oh,
okay. That's all right.
And then when, based on their response, he would make references to his wealth and power within the studio, suggesting that he could help people advance their careers.
based.
This is like a comically evil executive. Who is this guy? Holy, what a fucking Chad. Oh my god.
It's pretty stupid. It's pretty stupid. In a statement to Bloomberg News, it gets better. In a statement to Bloomberg News, Barrett said that throughout nearly 25 years at Bungie, quote, "I feel that I have always conducted myself with integrity and been respectful and supportive of my colleagues, many of whom I consider my closest friends. I never understood my communications to be unwanted, and I would have never thought that they could possibly have made anyone feel uncomfortable. If anyone ever felt that way about their interaction with me, I am truly sorry." So, there you go. Yeah.
Bro was twirling his mustache while he was writing that message. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Apparently, so they called an internal investigation into his conduct in the spring, and the result of that investigation led to his dismissal. So, I guess self-policing works out sometimes. I don't know, or maybe they had another secret reason they wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah, who knows, man?
This is the cover up.
Truly, who fucking knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as I've heard in the tech field in general, not just in the gaming industry, companies are getting a lot better about, like you said, like self-policing.
Yeah.
So if this is a side effect of that, that's amazing. That's great, to be honest. But wow, that is really fucking funny. That is like,
it's insane. It's like he stopped just short of asking if he give them a shoulder massage at the desk. Not even asking. He just walks up behind them and just starts massaging their shoulders.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Dude.
Cool.
Well, all right.
Well, we did the thing.
Oh yeah.
Good chat. Hopefully next time we get together, there will be some other stuff to talk about, actually. I bet
we will have Space Marine to talk about.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
I'm looking forward to that like fucking crazy.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, it's big. It's going to be super fun.
I have to get through some games between now and then.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get worried. My hard drive is like upset.
I've been fucking spending so much time doing coding shit that, like, by the time it's like, when I'm done, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock. Then it's time to do the dinner thing. Then it's time, like, to play Deadlock. So I don't have time to play single player games.
Yep.
But I need to fucking actually look up or dive back into my backlog, because
I think if I could get through Black Myth Wukong and Armored Core 6, I'd feel like I'm in a good place. I just need to get those squared away. By the way, I'll just say before we end here that Delta Force, first of all, they changed the name. I don't know if you saw that, but they got rid of Hawk Ops on the Delta Force name, so that's pretty funny.
Oh, that was why I couldn't fucking find it the other day.
So it's just called Delta Force now. The second thing, they've announced the end of the alpha test. It ends on the 8th. They've said that they're going to invite a lot more people to test over the course of the next week.
I'm
and
still
they're
not invited.
and they're going to allow for if you play in the last week, they will give you cosmetics that carry over to the main game. So you'll get some unlocks that carry over, which is kind of neat. So I might put a little bit of time into that, but yeah. Yep. And they added a conquest mode. So before they had like a rush mode, now they have rush conquest, and then the Tarkov mode. So should be interesting.
Oh, the Tarkov mode. I'm super fucking excited for that. I'm really, really excited to see all these different companies taking a crack at that genre.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think recently what we saw from statements from Bungie was not good. I don't know if you remember that. But they were talking about how Marathon was going, and they were like, yeah, we really haven't been getting good feedback at all from like the playtesters. So
the fact that trailer, I think Crossley and I gushed about this at the time. That first trailer they did was the perfect trailer. Like, it's hard to imagine anything better, like a CG trailer. The music, the visuals, everything about it. And then for them to then reveal that it was like a multiplayer extraction shooter, not interested, bro. Give me a single player game. I'm
interested.
I'm interested.
Let me actually rephrase that. Give me a single player game with a multiplayer component. It's what Bungie has always been good at. Give me a single player shooter or co-op, whatever, with a multiplayer component. I want, like, the Halo campaigns are amazing. The Destiny campaigns, obviously, they weave in a lot of co-op stuff, but you can play them single player. Just PvE content. I don't know.
I can agree with that, but I don't think that's the direction they want to go, especially after the way Destiny 2 went.
Yeah, but
I think I think they're still going to shoot for the like live service, but less production.
Destiny 2 went that way because it's a live service game and they can't churn out content fast enough. That's it.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that they're probably going to go try for a model like this, which is going to have less production.
I guess.
So,
yeah, I guess.
I think that's ultimately like the whole idea behind it.
I don't know.
I think the days of the single player FPS are kind of over. Like Call of Duty, like actually we got Atomic Heart last year, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Fuck.
Yeah, one of the worst games I've ever played. No,
that's a good game, bro. That's a good game.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yeah, I need to play Star Wars Outlaws too.
You're not gonna play it.
I'll play it. I just don't know how long I'll play it. That's a different story.
Mm-hmm. When Denuvo gets cracked, Merced will be all over that.
True. Yes. I'm gonna go be frustrated.
Peace out.